Chapter 537, Shattered Stone. Bing Yao's brow had not relaxed in the past few days. It was hard for him to accept Suo Mo's disappearance. He bowed respectfully towards Lan. After the constant worship from the Mist People in the last 2 weeks, Lan's power was gradually recovering. Lan passed on the long-lost Ice Mist Shen power cultivation method to the Mist People. The power of the tribe increased daily. The shadow that had hung over the tribe for tens of thousands of years was swept away. Lan received the sincere reverence of all the Mist People. "What question do you have?" Lan's faint yet authoritative voice sounded in Bing Yao's mind. "Lan, what are the restricted lands?" Bing Yao raised his head and asked. Lan hadn't thought that Bing Yao would ask this. He remained silent. "Ever since we moved here, we have guarded the restricted lands for more than 10,000 years. No one ever knew what the restricted lands are or why we guard it." Bing Yao's speaking speed was neither slow nor excited. It was filled with bewilderment. A moment later, Lan slowly said, "The time has not come. Xian Kong Temple has already discovered this place. They definitely have a goal or they know something," Bing Yao said straightforwardly. "Become strong as fast as possible." Lan's sigh echoed in the air. The surroundings sank into silence. No matter how Bing Yao called out, Lan no longer replied. Disappointment flashed through Bing Yao's eyes, but he did not probe more. For him, or rather, for the great majority of the Mist People, protecting and disallowing entry to the restricted lands was a tradition they had adhered to for tens of thousands of years. If it wasn't that Suo Mo might be stranded in the restricted lands, Bing Yao would not think to question this. Even if Ding Zhen had really entered the restricted lands, they would not have followed. All the signs pointed to the fact that the restricted lands held an unknown secret. Even something as powerful as Xian Kong Temple desired this secret. What was inside the restricted lands? In order to become the sect leader, Bing Yao had some skill and intelligence. Lan's words had been sparse, but he still managed to deduce a lot of information. To enter the restricted lands, they were not strong enough. Bing Yao's gaze became determined as he left the altar in silence. They advanced day and night. Suo Mo dared to swear that he probably would never have another chance in this life where he would walk so far that wasn't right, carried so far. Agui's body was on the verge of falling apart, but seemed to contain astounding power. One day, one night, for hours rest, she did not know exhaustion. Suo Mo was like a chatterbox and continued to talk. In the past, he definitely never would have imagined there would be a day when he spoke so much. Lying on Agui's back, the bare feet that he had sighed countless times over were trembling and straining with each step. He could clearly feel it. With every step, Suo Mo's heart shook. An indescribable feeling spread in his heart to the point he felt he wanted to be silent, but he knew that he could not be silent. He kept on telling himself he had to do something. Other than these meaningless words, he could not do anything. There had never been a time, Suo Mo had never hoped and wished like this, wished that he could use the Shen power that dominated his body to exchange for one thread of Ling power. Just one thread of Ling power, and he could create a paper crane. But there wasn't one iota. "Ah, Agui, I found that you are undefeatable. The more you fight, the stronger you get, the more you are wounded, the stronger you get." Suo Mo talked in a heartless tone. "Have you been hiding your power in the past? I've always found it strange about why you are so good to me. Did you owe me Jingshi in the past? Hey, do you really owe me Jingshi? This ghastly place doesn't even have any birds pooping here. Did we come to another ancient battlefield? No, 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 that was careless of me, I didn't mean to say that. Agui, you didn't hear a thing. We've walked for 20 days and didn't even see a stalk of grass, this is so depressing." With only Suo Mo's nattering as company, they walked for another 10 days. When Suo Mo saw the streak of green on the horizon, Suo Mo was euphoric. "Agui, Agui. Look! Look! There, there! Oh, heavens, ha 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 ha, we're saved. We're saved. Ague. Can you see? Can you see? Suemo was extremely excited and his exhales blew up Agui's hair. Ague did not respond and walked forward. Ague, you are a genius. Oh oh oh. A great genius. Such a great distance and you could find the direction, you are really a genius. Ha ha ha, we need to find someone and then heal. Once I recover, I will take you to find a water cloud embryo again, I will. You are too excited. A rough voice came from behind him. Suomo's voice abruptly halted and his heart shook. The inside of his body was a mess to the point that he didn't even detect someone was so close to him. He was unable to turn his neck and could not see the person behind him. I'm very sorry, my body is unwell and I cannot turn my head. Suemo tried to keep his tone normal. The other was slightly surprised. A figure flashed in front of Suemo that said with astonishment, so sickly. I pity you, little girl, you don't have it easy. Suemo finally saw the other's appearance. The other was of large stature and about twice Suemo's height. His skin was a sandy yellow, and a pair of faintly red eyes were sharp. Suemo's gaze landed on the other's arm. From his wrist to the elbow, it was wrapped in a layer of brown scales. Mo. Suemo was so shocked he almost shouted. Had he come to Mo territory? He is a lizard Mo, in the sea of consciousness, Wei destroyed Suemo's last hopes. However, Wei's tone held a thread of excitement. Oh, faintly red eyes, he probably has the blood of flame lizards. Lizard Mo big brother, good day. Suemo wanted to put a smile on his face but his face was paralyzed. Humph, silvery-tongued boy, you don't look like a good person. The wariness in the eyes of the lizard Mo dissipated. The two in front of him didn't look like a threat at all. His brow suddenly creased. Where did you come from? The direction we came from. Suemo's tone was joyful. We walked more than 30 days, I almost went crazy. 30 days? A hint of suspicion flashed across the eyes of Uncle Lizard Mo. You mean you two passed through the Shattered Stone Desert? Shattered Stone Desert? I don't know. We were exploring some ruins and might have accidentally activated something. As a result, we were transported to this damned place. Suemo found an explanation that seemed extremely reasonable. His paralyzed face was the best disguise. The last hint of suspicion in the eyes of Uncle Lizard Mo left and he said with a snort, you look half dead, and you explore ruins. You are very lucky to not have died in the Gobi Desert. Suemo's heart eased slightly. This Uncle Lizard Mo's tone was bold but he could hear the friendliness. Let's go, they'll count this as doing an act of kindness. Uncle Lizard Mo glanced at Ague and complimented, you, boy, are really fortunate. Finishing, he walked at the front. Ague seemed to understand and walked behind Uncle Lizard Mo. Uncle, what is this place? Suemo asked familiarly. Anyone that had talked to themselves for 30 days couldn't help but be enthusiastic. Shattered Stone Town, Uncle Lizard Mo replied without turning his head. Shattered Stone Town, what jia does this belong to? Suemo asked in puzzlement. Shattered Stone Jia. Uncle Lizard Mo did not turn his head. In the sea of consciousness. Wei, you were among the Mo before. Do you know where Shattered Stone Jia is? Suemo asked Wei, full of anticipation. Wei coughed and said, you know, my masters are usually Mo of high status and were nobility, this kind of small place. Ha ha ha. Pu Yao's laugh echoed in the sea of consciousness. Wei's skin was clearly thicker than the average as he looked at Suemo with composure. Suemo had lost control of his body but this did not affect his ability to make expressions in the sea of consciousness. Disdain. Yes, it was disdain as he looked down, deep disdain. Pu Yao laughed even more freely as the red-black Yao fire danced. You too, One of you boasts every day you are a sky yao, arrogant and domineering, one of you acts like a seer, ask me. Ask me. Ask me. You don't even know where Shattered Stone Jia is, how can you not know the answer to such a simple question? Old and new grievances combining, Zhuemo pointed at the pair and swore, I should have seen the truth about you both a long time ago. One used a stupid bead in the past and preyed on my youth and inexperience, telling me how much jingsher I can make with it, but I didn't get any jingsher at all. Now the other comes in. Not even speaking of the rent, you always talk about that oath and that noble status. Ha, a person that doesn't even know Shattered Stone Jia has the qualifications to talk about status? Pu Yao's laugh stopped. Wei's smile froze on his face. Even the Yao fire stopped pulsing. After he finished scolding, Zhuemo instantly felt much better. With a snort, he left the sea of consciousness. Uncle Lizard Mo was not very powerful and did not cultivate Mo physique. However, his body was strong and he strode forward. He noticed that it took a great effort to walk and stopped. Hey, little girl, let me carry him. Agui did not seem to hear him and continued to walk forward. Zhuemo hurriedly apologized to Uncle Lizard Mo, Uncle, sorry, she cannot hear. Uncle Lizard Mo's gaze instantly gentled greatly. He seemed to think of something and was slightly inattentive but he quickly raised his head. He walked together with Agui and snorted, you two, one sick and the other crippled. You don't stay at home but come out to run around, you don't want to live, right? Zhuemo could only smile weakly. He didn't know how to respond. You guys, fine, you won't listen even if I talk. Uncle Lizard Mo shook his head and then said, you can first stay at my place. Since I live alone, the space isn't used. Finishing, he didn't listen to Zhuemo's words of gratefulness and walked forward. When they reached Shattered Stone Town, Zhuemo saw some other Mo. It could be seen that these Mo were respectful towards Uncle Lizard Mo, and their gazes were full of curiosity as they looked at Agui and Zhuemo. However, several female Mo looked at Zhuemo with disdain and unfriendliness. Contrary to what Zhuemo had imagined, not all of these Mo were Lizard Mo or one type of Mo. This seemed to be a place where all kinds of Mo lived together. Shattered Stone Jia, Shattered Stone Town, where was this? GE was going to shatter soon. Chapter 538 Arrangements. Shattered Stone Town was not large and did not have a large population. The climate was extremely dry, because it was at the border of the Gobi Desert. It was also extremely poor and did not produce any specialty products. The survival here was extremely primitive and rural, the only thing in this place that held any value were the iron-digging ants. This was a very practical kind of ant that was well liked by Mo that liked playing with insects. Every year, there would be some Mo that would come to search for iron-digging ants. Only during these times would Shattered Stone Town seem lively. However, for the residents of the little town, they did not feel this place was desolate. Uncle Lizard Mo looked very brawny but he had a very delicate name, Anya. In reality, Zhuemo did not feel this elegant name had any connection with the Uncle Lizard Mo. Uncle Anya was very friendly. Even though his tone was slightly fierce, he took great care of Zhuemo and Agui, especially Agui. The hints of sorrow that occasionally flashed through Uncle Anya's eyes as he looked at Agui caused Zhuemo to speculate that Uncle Anya had once had a daughter that was like Agui. It could be seen that Uncle Anya held great authority in Shattered Stone Town. He was responsible for teaching Mo skills to the young Mo and the idol for many of the youths. Notice your footwork. Before you learn to fly, footwork is the only thing you can use. Power. What did I teach you? Gather your power together, it will only be strong then. So soft, do you want Agui to laugh at you? The young Mo that heard this blushed. Work hard. Zhuemo who was lying on Agui's back shouted. These young Mo blushed even more. Agui was just the same as before and unreactive. The youth of the town quickly accepted Zhuemo and Agui. Before they were ground down by the world, youths were always friendly and full of sympathy. In their eyes, Mo and Ague were sick and crippled. But their worldly experiences had caused the youth to be filled with yearning and curiosity. Ague did not react, but Mo, who had become a chatterbox, was the example of a friendly person. They were quickly accepted into the group. In the Gobi Desert, Ague would put Mo down to rest after walking for one day and night, but strangely, after they came to Shattered Stone Town, she never put Mo down once. Uncle Anya had tried a few times to get Mo on, but when he saw Ague's instinctive wariness, he did not try any longer. Mo could only sleep on Ague's back. However, what made him happy was that, other than being unwilling to put him down, Ague seemed to be able to hear some of his words. Like right now, come out to sunbathe, watch the youth cultivate. The lessons Uncle Anya was teaching was extremely basic content. Mo's entire body was paralyzed, but his eyes were still working. Uncle Anya's battle experience should be very high, and all of the things he taught were practical. Even Mo felt he learned a lot just watching. He had cultivated Mo's skills before and had even managed to get Mo physique, but these fundamental concepts were the part that he lacked. Especially now when he was paralyzed, Mo would frequently learn many things from listening to Uncle Anya talk. What was even better was that one day, he found he could move a finger again. After that, if Uncle Anya was teaching, he would definitely go to listen. Uncle Anya did not have any objections, as what he taught was not profound content and naturally did not need to keep it a secret. Pretty good, little dong. Uncle Anya complimented. After a while, you can awaken your Mo matrix. A boy showed excitement. Dong Zi was the most talented out of this group of youths. He had solid fundamentals and his skill was a notch above the other youths. However, awaken the Mo matrix? Mo was slightly puzzled. Fortunately, there was Wei, who had noble status and knew a bit about this. Low-level Mo usually only have low-level Mo matrices on their body, and they are not completely developed. They need to awaken the Mo matrix through other methods before it can be used. Mo was slightly shocked. There's things like this? Pu Yao smirked coldly and said, the Mo care the most about bloodlines because of this. The more noble the bloodline of the Mo, the more powerful the Mo matrix they would have, and naturally the stronger they would be. This is a succession method that degrades the most easily. Mo suddenly thought of a question, then can't they just get Mo matrices engraved? Wei and Pu Yao stilled. Didn't Vermilion Bird Camp have formations engraved before? Since formations are possible, why not Mo matrices? Those formations even originated from the Mo matrices. Mo said excitedly. You can try, Pu Yao said casually. He was not interested in this question. In the past, he had felt great anticipation about this problem because of his hopes that one day, he could possess his own body. But that was meaningless to him now. He and Wei could not be separated. Since this was the case, why would he still want to work on the Mo matrices? Was there a place better than this sea of consciousness? Wei sank into deep thought. Mo's words were a blow for him. The Mo were born with their matrices, and in their view, this was the power that the heavens gave them. No one had ever tried to engrave Mo matrices before, at least, no one had done it in the eras he had experienced. Mo did not pay attention to these two unreliable people. He had many Mo matrices, including the golden winged rock which Pu Yao had given him in the past. He decided to first go see how they active the Mo matrix. He had never seen it before and was very curious. Also, he had a daring idea. Darren, tell us, when is boss coming back? Lei Ping smacked his lips and seemed to be thinking of something. I don't know, Lil Mist said without raising his head. I wonder what Darren is doing, is there danger? Lei Ping murmured to himself with a creased brow. You are very idle. Lil Mist raised his head. No, no. When Lei Ping met Lil Miss gaze, his head shook like a rattledrum. Darren, you don't know, Black Turtle Camp has just started and those greenhorns are so terrible. I think you are too idle. Lil Miss interrupted Lei Ping. With just a glance, Lei Ping wilted. Lil Miss said lightly, return and tell Ma Fan that I will be inspecting your cultivation progress tomorrow. Boss, no way. Lei Ping was on the verge of tears. If he returned and Ma Fan and Nian Lu learned he had caused Lil Miss to come visit, he shook just thinking about it. Lil Miss smiled bashfully. ANS leaving, ANS leaving. Lei Ping stumbled and crawled as he fled. After Lei Ping left, Lil Miss moved his gaze and a shadow flashed across. Wei Sheng had passed information back. The one they had fought had been a Yuanying Xiuzha from Xian Kong Temple and the other had died. Lil Miss knew that Xian Kong Temple would not relent after one Yuanying and 3 disciples had died. If they were willing to accept this loss, they would not be Xian Kong Temple. Diana sects were more united than other sects and even more resistant to outsiders. When they encountered foreign enemies, the power they could gather was astounding. When Lil Miss received Swamo's message, he prepared to do battle. According to what he knew, there had been a battalion that had already appeared in Cloud Sea Jia, but for some reason, the battalion had suddenly disappeared. The other had arrived through transportation formations and the cost to do that was already astounding. The expenditure for an interjia transport was amazing, and the other clearly wasn't crossing just one jia. Even though they had not found out what power that battalion belonged to, Lil Miss was sure that it was a battalion from Xian Kong Temple. But the others suddenly disappeared and Xian Kong Temple had not made any more moves against them. Lil Miss guessed that something important had happened so that Xian Kong Temple did not have the attention to spare for them right now. But they would eventually come in the end. Xian Kong Temple would definitely send a battalion to attack Cloud Sea Jia when they had the resources. To stop the other from suddenly appearing in Cloud Sea Jia again, Cloud Sea Jia was forbidden from creating private transportation formations. The present transportation formations were under guard but Lil Miss knew that this method was not flawless. If the other did not care about cost, it was not hard to sneak into Cloud Sea Jia and set up a transportation formation. Did Xian Kong Temple seem like an entity that cared about cost? There would definitely be a fight. Lil Miss was not worried. He had started as an outsider and fought his way up to his position. He did not fear battle at all. However, no matter how confident he was, when he faced a titan like Xian Kong Temple, he could not be at ease. Fortunately, they would be fighting on home territory. This was something that Lil Miss rejoiced about. In this period of time, he had already started to set up. The present Turtle Island wasn't a small faction that just anyone could need. They had the resources of one Jia and Turtle Island, who wasn't weak to start with, quickly transformed. All of Turtle Island was preparing for battle, frantically training and preparing. So what if it was Xian Kong Temple? If they came, he wouldn't let them go without shedding a layer of skin. A cold light flashed through Lil Miss' eyes. However, there were other problems to be solved right now. Even though Shi Xiang had not said anything specific in the message he sent, the careful Lil Miss detected the unusualness. Shi Xiang most likely was in trouble. There was nothing in the message that said what he was doing now or when he was going to return. The message only said that they were fine now. Shi Xiang definitely was someone who would realize that Xian Kong Temple would retaliate. If he was not returning at this time, then something definitely happened. It was either a matter held him up or that he could not return. Shi Xiang had transportation seals and he could also set up transportation formations. He had taken all the materials required so even if he was in Mo Jia, he should rationally have returned long ago. This had only been Lil Miss' guess, but the message Shi Xiang sent today completely proved Lil Miss' speculation. Shi Xiang wanted him to research where Shattered Stone Jia was. As he had expected. Darren, Yiling and Sherdong Darren have come, the shield platoon guard outside the door reported. Lil Miss focused. Invite them in. Lil Miss was the most protected person on Turtle Island, and even Zwomo's protective detail could not compare. Zwomo's personal strength was strong and usually did not need protection, unless he was fighting. Darren. Yi Ling and Shi Dong bowed. They were puzzled at suddenly being called over. Chapter 539, Support. Do either of you know Shattered Stone Jie? Lil Miss asked directly. Shattered Stone Jie. Yi Ling and Shi Dong exchanged a look and shook their heads. Haven't heard of it. Never heard of it. Lil Miss couldn't help but show disappointment. Darren, is Shattered Stone Jie part of the Mo territories? Yi Ling, who was attentive, asked. Shi Dong also looked at Lil Mississippi. Speaking of this, Yi Ling and Shi Dong's attitudes towards Mo and Lil Miss were completely different from each other. Yi Ling was completely loyal and followed Mo faithfully as he felt that Mo could possibly become the true king. His respect towards Lil Miss was more the kind of respect towards a commanding officer. On the other hand, Shi Dong felt doubt about Yi Ling's idea that Mo could become king, but he was truly respectful towards Lil Miss, who had defeated him. And, go ask around, who knows where Shattered Stone Jie is? Lil Miss said after thinking. The two accepted the order and left. They quickly came back to report. Darren, this subordinate has found it. There is a small Jie called Shattered Stone Jie, but it is very remote. It does not produce any special products. It is supposedly the territory of someone called Tseng Yi, Yi Ling carefully reported. He was curiously. Why was Lil Miss Darren interested in Shattered Stone Jie? Did that poor and remote little Jie have something of value? When Yi Ling and Shi Dong privately talked, they both thought that their king's great work should first start from Little Savage Jie. Little Savage Jie was the Jie they had lived in before. With the Chaos Rift, they could quickly enter Little Savage Jie. More importantly, Little Savage Jie was completely unprepared at this time. It would not be hard to take down the local powers with Turtle Island strength. They had seen Vermilion Bird Camp's terrifying combat capabilities, and according to their observations, the power of Vermilion Bird Camp members was still improving at a terrifying rate. This was something that amazed the two of them. High rates of growth were extremely scary for battalions that had reached that certain level of strength, like Vermilion Bird Camp. Grey Camp was also progressing at the same rapid rate. Being able to practice Mo skills that they dreamed about made them feel like they were in a fantasy when they held it. Every Mo in Grey Camp cultivated as though they were dying of thirst. They did not need to be pressured to train. Every Mo was clear about the value of this Mo skill. Shi Dong's brow also furrowed. When he found out where Shattered Stone Jie was, he thought that attacking Shattered Stone Jie was not a good choice. Darren, Shattered Stone Jie is of no value to us. Shi Dong was extremely proud and a pure battle general. He stated his thoughts bluntly and directly. This was also one of the important reasons that he had never been promoted. Yi Ling knew that Shi Dong's action was not good. Just as he was going to speak to help Shi Dong out, he heard Lil Miss speak. Value? Oh, I do not want Shattered Stone Jie. Lil Miss shook his head, but I need to go get someone. Get a person. Shi Dong had a confused expression, but Yi Ling's heart jumped. Yi Ling thought of King, who had not shown himself recently. Was it? Noticing the shock in Yi Ling's eyes, Lil Miss smiled slightly. Your king is in Shattered Stone Jie right now. Out of safety, I feel that we need to send some people over. King is in Shattered Stone Jie. Shi Dong's eyes were wide in shock. He could not imagine how King had suddenly ran over to Shattered Stone Jie. Does King not have any guards? Yi Ling was frightened. Only Miss Agui. Lil Miss spread his hands. Yi Ling jumped like a cat whose tail was stepped on. No guards. Heavens! How can there not be any guards? No guards, he's the king. How can we let the king enter such a dangerous place alone? Looking at Yi Ling that was shouting as he waved his hands about, Lil Miss was astounded. Up until now, they had never had similar thoughts unless it was to fight on the battlefield. In the eyes of Lil Miss and the others, Mo was like a cockroach and possessed great and strong vitality. With his cunning and slippery personality and endless bag of tricks, even if he could not win, escaping wasn't a problem. Unless it was a special circumstance, people would rarely worry about Mo's safety. Not alone, Lil Miss added weakly, there is also a Gui. Miss a Gui? Yi Ling was so furious his eyes were popping out. Miss a Gui is so gentle and fragile. A Gui was gentle and fragile. Lil Miss sweated slightly. Looking at Yi Ling that appeared to almost go into a rage, he interrupted, so, I have decided to send you. I believe you can fulfill this mission perfectly. I, Yi Ling, will use my life to guard my king's glory. Yi Ling shouted his oath. Lil Miss weakly swallowed. Fanatics were really scary. Shi Dong suddenly inserted, Lil Miss Darren. Lil Miss Darren. The corner of Lil Miss' eyes twitched and he narrowed his eyes. He smiled bashfully and appeared harmless. No one had ever dared to call this nickname in front of him, never. This damned guy. The pitiful Shi Dong, who thought that Lil Miss' actual name was Lil Miss because Ma Fan and the others always used that name, had unwittingly stepped on a mine in a very natural fashion. Even someone as clever as Yi Ling did not detect anything in front of Lil Miss' gentle smile. How could Shi Dong, who had a one-track mind, react in time? He said directly, if this is the case, this subordinate suggests to first take Little Savage Jie. Little Savage Jie? Lil Miss stilled. This is the Jie we originally lived in, it is a little Jie and does not have any strong powers. Shi Dong's words flowed. Only by taking over Little Savage Jie can we guarantee that our avenue of retreat is not blocked off. Shixiang knows transportation formations, Lil Miss said. Darren may not know. This time, it was Yi Ling that spoke. He had been the quartermaster and knew more about this area. The requirements for these kind of extreme long-distance transportation formations are very stringent and the risk during use is very high. Its greatest weakness is that it will produce extremely strong power vibrations and attract the attention of the Jie's strong people. Lil Miss' brow furrowed. Nan Yu and Sang Zhe came through the transportation formation. That only means that their Jie does not have anyone strong to interfere. Calm down, Yi Ling was a completely different person. Darren, the Mo have a strong sense of territory. Any action that can intrude onto their territory is the same as a provocation to war. These strong people will only need to create a small amount of interference when the transportation formation is at work and the target of the transportation would shift. With a transportation of such an extreme distance, the slightest change would be the difference between life and death. Xiuzhe and Yaomua have fought for so many years and never dared to use such a move before. So that is why. Lil Miss finally understood. He had an unorthodox education and did not know many things that were common knowledge. Before the sky-splitting calamity, everyone had been fighting at Bloody Sky Metropolis Jie. This must have been the reason. Lil Miss became silent. If this was the case, taking over Little Savage Jie became extremely important. The Chaos Rift was the passage into the Mo territories and he would only feel assured if it was in their hands. We only need Grey Camp and we can sweep Little Savage Jie. Shi Dong said proudly. He raised his head and looked at Lil Miss, gazed directly, full of fighting spirit. The present Grey Camp was multiple times as strong as it was in the past. Shi Dong had been the top battle general in Little Savage Jie before, but his battalion had not been one of the top. He had always had to take the most difficult and dangerous missions. All of his subordinates were old soldiers that were experienced but were limited by their talent and their skill, they had reached a peak and could not improve. The appearance of Great Day Hardship Guard was like a key to these people with great experience and took them into a completely new world. All of them had breakthroughs. It was due to this that Sherdong dared to promise such a thing. Lil Miss made a decision after a moment of silence. Good. Sherdong will go to fight Little Savage Jia and Black Turtle Camp will take over guarding the Chaos Rift. Yiling and Shu Long will pick a small group from Guard Camp and go to Shattered Stone Jia. Nan Yu and the others will also go. The Grey Camp were all MO and there would not be considered outsiders if they suddenly counterattacked. If it was Vermilion Bird Camp, all of Little Savage Jia would unite together and the matter would become much more troublesome. Yiling and Sherdong took their orders. Lil Miss orders were passed down at the fastest possible speed. All of Turtle Island started to move like enormous cogs in a machine. Sherdong was proud but he was not stupid. He knew since he spoke in front of Lil Miss, he had to complete the mission and do well. What could be called well? Fast. The faster the better. The major powers of Little Savage Jia did not know someone was targeting them. In secret, the guard on the Chaos Rift changed. Ma Fan wanted to go to the front lines but they didn't dare to disobey Lil Miss orders. The first to leave was not Sherdong, but Yiling and Shu Long's group. They would first enter Little Savage Jia before it became chaotic and depart for Shattered Stone Jia. There were not many people in Shu Long's group, only about 100 people. Under Yiling's suggestion, they disguised themselves as a merchant convoy. Even though they were only 100 people, but they were the elite. Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe, Ming Ju Zi were among them, and all the experts of Guard Camp were included. A Wen was present and also 5 Flower Yao. Yiling was Mo, Nan Yu and the others were Yao, Shu Long and Wen cultivated Mo skills, the Flower Yao also cultivated Yao arts. This group was extremely plausible. The relationship between Yao and Mo was good and they were in a kind of alliance. The interactions among the common people were even more frequent and it was possible to frequently see Yao in the territories of Mo Guard Camp's Mo skill, and the Flower Slaves' Yao arts were extremely profound. There wasn't any hint of a Shouja presence on them, and they seemed to be true-blooded Yaomo. Yiling had relationships and connections with all levels of society and they passed smoothly into Little Savage Jia. Even now, Little Savage Jia did not know that Sherdong and Yiling had betrayed them. At the beginning, they sent the two in order to test the waters and did not pay much attention. After they defected, Grey Camp had continued to guard the Chaos Rift so, naturally, no one suspected them. Looking at the scenery that was completely different than the Shouja world, Shu Long and the others were astounded. Out of worry for Zhuomo's safety, all of them were burning with impatience and headed towards Shattered Stone Jia at top speed. But Shattered Stone Jia was too far away, they needed time. Chapter 540, Change Position. Hearing the news that Shu Long and Yiling were coming to help him came to Zhuomo through Puyao via the 10-finger prison, so Zhuomo was in even less of a hurry to leave. He decided to stay in Shattered Stone Town to wait for Shu Long and Yiling. With his and Agui's present states, running around was the same as seeking death. It was safer to stay in Shattered Stone Town. Agui, Shu Long and the others will soon come. By that time, we will be safe, Zhuomo said excitedly to Agui. He hadn't wanted to tell Lil Miss and the others because he didn't want them to worry and also because he felt there wasn't any way that they could help him solve this problem even if he told them. He hadn't expected Lil Miss to actually send people to get them in a long-distance journey. This was a true long-distance journey. He didn't know how many Jia they would have to pass through from Cloud Sea Jia to Shattered Stone Jia. Truthfully, he still didn't know why he had Agui had suddenly appeared here. Even Pu Yao and Wei didn't know what happened after he lost consciousness, much less Agui. Cloud Sea Jia. Shattered Stone Jia. Was there a connection between these two? Zhuomo definitely did not believe this was a coincidence. A transportation formation that could travel such a long distance certainly was not an average transportation formation. At the beginning, he had thought it was a chaos rift but Pu Yao and Wei rejected this speculation with confidence. Pu Yao and Wei were not reliable, but when the two of them had the same opinion, then it was a reliable conclusion. Then what was it? Suemo sank into deep thought. Suddenly, a light flashed through Suemo's mind. All the clues were strung together like pearls in his mind. He remembered the words on the golden leaf had said that the Sun tribe had set up a Shen temple in Cloud Sea Jia to look for a certain object. Suemo at the beginning had thought that Lan had been imprisoned in the burning Shen realm because of the Sun tribe's warlike nature, but looking at it now, this definitely was not a coincidence. The thieving Baldy from Xian Kong Temple had talked about that object. It seemed that that guy knew something. Was the object that the thieving Baldy spoke of and the object that the golden leaf mentioned the same one? The restricted landed of the Mist People. That object was most likely in the restricted grounds of the Mist People. This was why Lan was in the burning Shen realm, and why the thieving Baldies had appeared was explainable. But why did he and Ague appear in Shattered Stone Jie? What was the connection between Shattered Stone Jie and the restricted grounds of the Mist People? Was that object in Shattered Stone Jie? Suemo shook his head and threw this absurd thought to the back of his mind. In the period of time he had stayed in Uncle and Ya's home, he generally understood the situation of Shattered Stone Jie. Shattered Stone Jie was an average little Jie among the many in the Mo realm. There was nothing worthy of attention here. What was most plentiful were the sand and rocks of the Gobi Desert. According to Uncle Anya, the Gobi Desert was so large it spanned over 3/4 of Shattered Stone Jia and was at its most central part. The other Mo settlements were mostly like Shattered Stone Town and scattered around the borders of the Gobi Desert. From every perspective, Shattered Stone Jia was a desolate place, even more lifeless than Cloud Sea Jia. The number of Shouja in Cloud Sea Jia was far more than the number of Mo living in Shattered Stone Jia. Then why had he and Ague been transported here? Was this a coincidence? Suemo did not understand. He quickly threw these speculations to the back of his mind. Even if there was treasure, it had nothing to do with him. He was worried about Lil Miss and the others. Since Shu Long and Awen were coming, Guard Camp now lacked a leader, and Turtle Island had one less troop that could fight. Xian Kong Temple would not remain passive. He didn't know if Gongsun Shidi would be able to withstand their advances. Fortunately, Xian Kong Temple was very far from Cloud Sea Jia and they could not send many battalions over. They were also unable to maintain a long campaign because their primary enemy was Yama, not him. If they could stop the first wave, then it would be easy. He did not speak of his worries. He believed that Gongsun Shidi would think of his. Alright, he should first take care of himself. This weak and inhuman state was hurtful to look at. Ague was probably tired as well. Suemo was lying on Agui's back and her loose hair covered his face. After so many days of wind and sand, Agui's hair was so clean there wasn't any dust and carried a heart-shaking black sheen. It felt slightly eerie. It was a pity he could not see Agui's face. Hey, Ague, can we change the carrying position? Suemo muttered. He clearly felt that Ague stilled. Did Ague understand? Suemo was overjoyed and hurriedly said, Ague, change position, come, let's change position. Before he finished speaking, he felt a great force and he spun. He finally changed position. It had been a few weeks since he was placed on Agui's back. Ague, you were great. Suemo almost cried. Ague, can we change a position again? Suemo said weakly. Ague was motionless and didn't react at all. Suemo was slightly nervous. His arm, which was in contact with a certain full and soft part of Ague, tingled. Suemo suddenly thought of the very powerful illusory art that despicable paper crane girl had used on him at Wukong Mountain. Was this, also an illusory spell? Such a powerful illusory spell. Suemo swallowed in difficulty and stammered, Ague, actually, we can change positions, holding me horizontally like this, I don't have any presence. Agui was motionless. Hey, Azwa Azwa. Shouts from Dong Zi and the others came from outside the door. Zhuemo had been accepted into their group, especially since Zhuemo would accidentally teach them. They became even warmer after that. Not good, someone was coming. Zhuemo panicked. Oh. The heavens as witness. Gu has never panicked like this. Facing Yaoma, Yuanying, Jin Dan, worldly treasures, Ge has never felt such panic. Why so panicked? Zhuemo wanted to find a crack in the ground and hide himself. Pia, the door was pushed open. Azwa Azwa. Dong Zi and the others rushed in excitedly, but when they saw Zhuemo, they were stunned where they stood. Deathly silence. Hey, what's with your expression? Zhuemo's tone was extremely unnatural. Whoa, Sister Agui is so strong. Bridal carry. A little girl's eyes were bright and admiring as she looked at Agui. Bridal carry. Everyone's expressions became strange. Cough, speak, Agui is very tired today. Zhuemo said with forced calm. Oh, we wanted to tell you the Matrix Awakening Master has come. Didn't you want to watch? Dong Zi's expression was very strange. Even such an honest youth as Dong Zi felt that he was embarrassed when he saw a woman holding a man in a bridal carry. Matrix Awakening Master. In the eyes of the MO, activating the MO matrix was done to awaken the sleeping MO matrix, so those in this profession were called Matrix Awakening Masters. However, being a Matrix Awakening Master was not a very prestigious profession because only low-level MO needed help to awaken their MO matrices. They were still deeply respected because they were extremely knowledgeable. Zhuemo's mind became alert and he lost all embarrassment. He asked in a hurry, where? There were not many MO in the town. Zhuemo guessed roughly that there were about 50,000 people. If this was Suling City, then they wouldn't even fill a corner of the city. Because the location was remote and the land was not bountiful, the MO here were mostly poor. As a result, no MO would target this place and there was no fighting. When Zhuemo came onto the street in Agui's bridal carry, it instantly caused a burst of friendly laughter. The people here liked this strange pair. Zhuemo, who had become a chatterbox, was warm and open in their eyes, while Agui, who was silent and determined, was greatly liked by those aunties full of maternal love. Every day, someone would bring some food and attire to Uncle and Yas home for Agui and Zhuemo. Little Zhuezhua, your Agui is very domineering. Bridal carry. TSK, such strong arm power, little Zhuezhua, does it feel good to lean there, haha. Oh ho, elder sister Agui is very strong. In the future, I want to carry my man like this, so strong. So moving. I like Agui, she's so brave, why hadn't I thought of this move in the past? Time is a butcher's knife. Oh, little Zhuezhua must be enjoying this. Zhuemo was very embarrassed. If it wasn't that his expression was paralyzed, his face would be completely flushed at now. His finger, which was the only part of his body that could move, was trembling and shaking like a spring. Gu's image was completely ruined. This was all his own fault. Why did Ge want to change positions? Zhuemo cried on the inside. Agui was silent and her expression unchanged. Her steps were not wide. As she carried Zhuemo, her center of balance was leaning towards the front. She was not strong to begin with and it was hard for her to carry him in this position. Dong Zi and the others were chattering at the side. Fortunately, no one came to help Agui. All those of Shattered Stone Town knew that Agui definitely would not let go of Zhuemo. The Matrix Awakening Master was at the center of the town. He was helping a youth awaken his MO matrix. The surroundings were silent and everyone had nervous expressions. This Matrix Awakening Master was not very old, about 30 or 40. His body was very thin and seemed wispy. He held a long needle about the length of his forearm and had an expression of concentration as he carefully drew with the needlepoint that was dipped in an unknown black liquid. It was the first time Zhuo was seeing the process of Mo matrix awakening. He was filled with curiosity. The movements of the matrix awakening master was very light and elegant. It had a certain rhythm that caused Zhuo to think of dancing. The expression of the matrix awakening master was very focused. Every time he lowered the needle, the black medicine liquid on the tip would drip a black dot on the black of the youth. This extremely minuscule black dot would quickly permeate the skin and disappear. Zhuo's eyes were skilled. After a few seconds, he more or less understood the method. The next movements of the matrix awakening master shocked Zhuo. Chapter 541, Matrix Awakening Master. An imperceptible light suddenly lit up at the tip of this Matrix Awakening Master's hand. His wrist trembled slightly and the long needle was like a streak of silver light that suddenly entered the skin of the youth. The youth's body shook slightly as he gave a muffled grunt. At the same time, the faint Mo matrix suddenly appeared. It was not very distinct, but the structure of the Mo matrix was clear. The Matrix Awakening Master released a breath and lightly patted the Mo matrix. The long needle seemed to be jerked out of the youth's body by an invisible thread. Putting away the long needle, the Matrix Awakening Master stood up and said with a smile, "Pretty good luck, it is a success." The youth was instantly excited and his parents all released a long breath and gave happy expressions. With the Mo matrix awakened, as long as he did not stop cultivating, he would welcome a new rapid period of improvement after a while. No matter where, strength was the most important assurance, especially in the Mo territories. Dong Zi looked with admiration at that youth. The other's talent was not as high as his, but how high he would go depended on whether the awakening was a success. Zhuo stared thoughtfully at the Matrix Awakening Master's long needle. When he had seen the long needle enter the body of the youth, he had jumped in fight. But when the Mo matrix appeared, he instantly identified the reason. Zhuo had once thoroughly studied Mo matrices and had his own understanding about the Mo matrices. In his view, the Mo matrix was a natural formation formed from the blood, flesh, and Bodhis energies. The complexity of this was much higher than the seal formations of the Shuzha. Other than the complexity of its structure, there was also an important cause, the blood, flesh, energy. They were not dead. The Mo had a saying, there were no Mo matrices that were exactly the same. Because the energies and flesh of every Mo were not completely the same, the Mo matrices were not the same. After seeing the entire process, he had a directly experience of how to awaken the Mo matrix. The Matrix Awakening Masters made a certain repairs to the incomplete Mo matrices. No, more accurately, it was an adjustment. They made minor adjustments to the flesh and energies. Even though they could not repair the Mo matrix, they could get the Mo matrix to be effective to a certain degree. Therefore, awakening the Mo matrix, this saying was extremely accurate. As Zhuo pondered this, he stared at the long needle in the hand of the Matrix Awakening Master. He was very interested in that needle. The spectating Mo gradually left. They were not unfamiliar with this matter. A group of young Mo remained behind and asked the Matrix Awakening Master all kinds of questions. This middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master was very harmonious in personality and patiently answered the questions of the youth. Zhuo listened for a while and instantly had a new opinion of the Matrix Awakening Master. The other was knowledgeable. "Mr. Matrix Awakening Master, may I see your needle?" Zhuo suddenly said. His tone did not seem any different than the other innocent youths that were full of curiosity. The Matrix Awakening Master turned his face. When he saw Zhuo and Ague, a teasing expression came onto his face. Little boy, starting to eat soft rice at such a young age. This is not a good habit. Eating soft rice? Zhuo stilled. For some unknown reason, the feeling of fullness and softness that came from his arm instantly became crystal clear, and the tingly feeling. The illusory spell had come again. So soft, was this what eating soft rice meant? Suemo instantly understood. The taste was actually pretty good. Suemo was dazed, but he quickly focused. "Mister, I'm very sorry. I cannot move." At this time, he was like a harmless youth, and there was not one hint of the presence of the person who had taken over a Jia. "Mr. Matrix Awakening Master, Azwa's body is not well and he cannot move. Ague cannot hear nor speak," the kind Dong Zi explained to the Matrix Awakening Master. "Oh." The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master showed slight shock. He examined the two of them and said to himself, "Is there a strange ailment? Let me see." He didn't wait for Suemo to respond, walked forward, and grabbed one of Suemo's hands. Suemo was shocked and instantly regretted his choice to interact. He shouldn't have called attention to himself so early. If the other detected something when inspecting his body, it would be dangerous. But before he could refuse, the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master started his inspection with one hand on Suemo's arm. A warm wave of power followed his finger into Suemo's arm. This wave of power was instantly dismembered by the rampaging powers that were fighting in Suemo's body. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master's face turned white. Suemo sighed sorrowfully inside. It was over. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master took back his arm. His face was ashen. Even though he tried to maintain calmness on his face, Suemo still noticed the barely discernible shock in his eyes. "What is the result of Sire's inspection?" Suemo's voice was smiling, and it sounded like an innocent youth waiting for an answer. Since he had been found out, if he came on strongly, the other would have a harder time determining his true origins. But in the ears of the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master, this was like a clap of thunder. This youth that seemed harmless and was held to the chest of this little girl instantly transformed to a dangerous youth hiding in the darkness. Ague, who was expressionlessly holding Suemo, seemed like a personal guard of those high-level MO. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master had once seen some high-level MO. They would frequently have one or two of those special existences by their side. Even that cold presence was the same. These kinds of personal guards usually had great power, they killed people like they were ants, cold and emotionless. Was this youth actually a high-level MO? Cold sweat instantly floated down his back. In his eyes, the youth was staring at him sardonically. Even that tone seemed to be teasing. "Ah ha, so sorry, my skill is not very good, and I really haven't seen this ailment before." The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master laughed. No matter what the other's identity was, and why he had disguised himself like this, or if Azuo was really sick, he decided to not get involved. After speaking, he turned and prepared to leave. "Honorable Mr. Matrix Awakening Master, you have not let me see your needle," a seemingly innocent voice came from behind him. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master's steps stilled and his expression froze. The other was not afraid. It seemed that his speculation was close, he could not afford to offend someone this dangerous. Turning around, his face was filled with a harmonious smile. I forgot this, so sorry." Finishing, he took out the long needle. "Mr. Matrix Awakening Master, may I trouble you to put this in my hand?" "I'm very sorry, I cannot move," Suemo said politely. The Matrix Awakening Master carefully put the long needle onto Suemo's palm. Dong Zi and the others had wide eyes. They had seen a mischievous person try to touch the long needle of the Matrix Awakening Master and had been lectured severely by the Master. The Matrix Awakening Master was really a kind MO. He probably felt that Azuo was pitiful, so he was treating Azuo so well. That was what they thought. When the long needle entered his hand, Suemo instantly detected the mysteries of this long needle. Horizontal silver, zero light black sand, iron-horned rhinoceros wood, sunset water. Suemo murmured as he quickly deciphered the composition of this silver needle. The Matrix Awakening Master was stunned. Immersed in his exploration, Mo did not notice that the long needle in his hand gently lit up. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master's eyes were wide as he stared in disbelief at the silver needle in Mo's hands that was giving off light. His expression was shocked as though he was seeing a ghost. This wasn't possible. Only he could use that silver needle, and only he could activate the power inside. This youth. Mo did not detect anything at all. The enormous pain inside his body constantly attacked his mind. He needed to be more focused. Oh, this formation, no, Mo matrix. I remember now, it is a part of the Blackwater Leech Mo matrix, so it can be used like this, interesting. Mo murmured to himself and did not detect the reactions of the people around him. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master felt his mind was blank. He felt as though he was instantaneously stripped completely naked, with everything on display. He had used secret methods to make his silver needle, and the Mo matrix inside the silver needle was the core secret of his teacher and the masters before him. It had been so casually revealed and stated by this youth. Mo's Mo physique was to cultivate the power of his blood and flesh. At this time, his physical power had been scattered and was mixed together with his Ling power and spiritual consciousness as it rampaged through his body. The Mo matrix on the silver needle instantly attracted the power of blood and flesh inside Mo's body, which was why he could explore the silver needle. However, his body was in chaos and one thing would pull along something else. This stream of physical power was like a spark that was thrown into a pot of oil and instantly created an inferno. The chaotic clash of the three powers furiously flowed into the silver needle. Pia. The silver needle in Mo's hand wasn't able to support such a strong power and exploded into a ball of silver smoke. This explosion frightened everyone, including Mo. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master stood like a pillar of wood with an ashen face as he looked at Mo's empty palm. Dongzi and the others were dumbstruck. They had not understood Mo's mumble, but they had still felt respect. A's words sounded as though they were very powerful. But when the needle exploded in Mo's hand, the first reaction of Dongzi and the others was, oh. Azwa had ruined the Matrix Awakening Master's silver needle. I'm sorry to have ruined your silver needle. Looking at the bloodless face of the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master, Mo really felt guilt. It had probably taken the other great effort to get this silver needle and he had ruined it. He could understand this feeling. If someone had ruined his paper crane, Lil Yellow, in the past, he would put his life on the line to kill the other. But right now, he was unable to use his Ling power. Otherwise, he could just pay the other. He naturally did not lack this amount of wealth. At present, the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master that was stunned, Dongzi and the others with their nervous expressions and Mo that did not know what to do stared at each other. At this time, Ague did not look so eye-catching. Chapter 542, The Declining Situation. After you go back, work hard, the Corps Commander gave Mu Shi her transfer order. She admired Mu Shi greatly. Yes. Darren. Mu Shi bowed back in seriousness. Go, don't waste time. The Corps Commander's expression was calm. We will be leaving this place soon as well. Ah. Mu Shi was greatly shocked. Leave here. Are we going to abandon Blood Sky Metropolis Jie? What is the meaning in standing guard here? The Corps Commander said calmly. Mu Shi was silent. After the sky-splitting calamity began, chaos rifts had appeared everywhere. It created countless passageways to appear between the Yao territories and the Xiuzha territories. There was truly no meaning in standing guard at Bloody Sky Metropolis Jie. A few days ago, Mu Shi received a message from the clan leader hoping that she could return to the clan and protect them. Immediately after, the transfer order had come and the location of the transfer was her home territory. This surprised her. The clan leader must have done something, but he was not powerful enough to affect this kind of transfer. Mu Shi was extremely smart, and upon some thought, her thoughts cleared up. The war had changed at a fundamental level. The Yao Jies that had chaos rifts were the front lines of battle. The zigzagging chaos rifts bypassed the buffer zone between Yaoma and Xiuzha territories and allowed them to come into direct contact. This also heralded the start of chaotic fighting. The chaos rifts were passageways, the places that had to be fought over. No matter if it was Xiuzha or Yaoma, no one would give up the fight over them. Especially the chaos rifts that appeared in the important locations. If those were taken over, the consequences didn't need thinking about. Mu Shi could imagine just how fierce and harsh the battle over the chaos rifts would be. The situation had changed so quickly even the wise elders could not predict the outcome. All the military corps on the front lines were drawn back and transferred to protect the strategic locations. Mu Shi received the news on her way that all the Yao art houses had stopped their classes. All the teachers and students were sent to conduct complete searches to make sure that every chaos rift would be found. The safe rear guard entered an unprecedented chaos. The scent of war spread through the air, the prices shot through the roof, and there were even battalions patrolling the streets in some places. There was no rear anymore. On the road back home, Mu Shi was deep in thought. The elders must have also thought of this, so they had agreed to allow a portion of the battle generals to return to their homes. There were too many chaos rifts and the power of the regular corps was not enough to manage them all. Rather than stretching their resources, it was better to unite the local powers of each jie to resist the advances of the Xiuzha. They, the battle generals who had been allowed to return home, would mount a furious resistance without any urging because it was their home. The Council of Elders could shift more power to the strategic locations that they felt were most important. Even if the Xiuzha wanted to break through by attacking these less important places, the local resistance would pose a hindrance to them and slow the enemy. This would create a buffer for the regular corps. The Council of Elders used this method to achieve strategic aims. Mu Shi understood, but she wasn't happy at all. At such a dangerous time, the Council of Elders had abandoned them. This was done out of helplessness. She did not hate the elders because if she was in their shoes she would also do the same. But determination flashed through her eyes. No matter what, she had to protect her home. Lil Mis carefully browsed the intelligence he received. After his reading, he sank into deep thought. Moments later, his gaze became clear and a slight smile floated at the corner of his mouth. It seemed that Xian Kong Temple would not be coming and making trouble for them any time soon. Large numbers of chaos rifts had appeared in Xian Kong realm. Supposedly, many of them were in core regions. The fighting over these chaos rifts was extremely fierce. At this crucial time, Xian Kong Temple would not send a strong battalion to a place like Cloud Sea Jie. Xian Kong Temple was not the only one in a rush. The other three major powers of the four realms were not much better off. The chaos rifts that had suddenly appeared caused everyone to sink into chaos. In comparison, Cloud Sea Jie was calm. The only worry Lil Mis had was that there were too many places in Cloud Sea Jie that were unexplored. No one knew how many undiscovered chaos rifts there were here. Originally, Lil Mis had wanted to copy the other sects and conduct a systematic search, but he quickly threw away this unrealistic idea. The Cloud Sea was deep and filled with unknown dangers. If they threw all of themselves in, they wouldn't even make a splash. Upon further thought, Lil Mis felt that the interlocking island formations that he was building right now were a more secure plan. This plan had been suggested by the two masters of Golden Crow Camp. With Lil Mis' preference to use offense in place of defense, he hadn't been interested in this plan in the beginning. But after further consideration, he felt it was a very good plan, other than the fact that it was expensive. He hadn't thought that this plan called Great Thousand Islands Formation received strong support from all the factions. They were even willing to pay for the costs themselves. Everyone had been frightened by the Mo army that suddenly arrived. Therefore, The Great Thousand Islands Formation became the Great 10,000 Islands Formation. This enormous plan that included almost all the Cloud Islands in Cloud Sea started like this. Each Cloud Island became a node and all of the Cloud Islands formed an enormous and complex formation that were locked in layers. It was like an enormous spider web. Any enemy that entered this web would be attacked. Once the great formation was complete, not just one battalion, but if multiple battalions came to their door, Lil Miss was confident he could force them to retreat. And the news that Suemo passed on suggested an even more daring idea, asking the Mist people to help and search for the Ling veins hidden in the Cloud Sea. These Ling veins would be used to support the large formation's energy expenditures. Such a crazy idea. Or did Shixiang just want to save Jingshi? Lil Miss couldn't help but shake his head and laugh. "Pay me one back," the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master asked with a depressed face. At the side, Dong Zi had a nervous expression. Whether or not his matrix would be awakened would depend directly on this. He didn't notice that the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master was using respectful terms of speech. "Yes. I'm very sorry. However, it will have to be in a few days. You should be able to see that my current state is not well." Suemo's tone was full of apology. In these past days, Suemo had tried to organize his blood and flesh. The techniques he had stole from Uncle Anya were extremely practical. After a few days of unrelenting effort, his right hand had gradually recovered feeling. After a few more days, he should be able to turn his wrist. The middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master didn't seem to believe him, but at this time, there was no other solution. "I might need your help," Suemo said after thinking. "No problem." Since it was relating to his silver needle, the middle-aged Matrix Awakening Master managed to agree. "Mr. Matrix Awakening Master, I have not inquired to how to call you." "Kajwa." The news that Suemo had cased Kajwa's silver needle to explode quickly spread through the entire town. In Uncle Anya's home. Uncle Anya looked sternly at Suemo as well. What really happened? "Ah, I accidentally damaged Mr. Kajwa's silver needle," Suemo said innocently. "Aren't you unable to move?" Uncle Anya's brow creased. "Yes, I had Mr. Kajwa put the silver needle into my hand." Suemo felt this explanation could not satisfy Uncle Anya and he said, "Actually, I'm also a Matrix Awakening Master even though I'm not very skilled." "You are also a Matrix Awakening Master?" This question moved Uncle Anya's attention. His face was shocked. "How else could I damage Mr. Kajwa's silver needle?" Suemo lied his pants off. "That's true." The pitiful Uncle Anya was not a match for the cunning Suemo who deflected him somewhere else. Uncle Anya was relieved. He turned around and said to Kajwa, "So sorry, the two children are young. Where is Mr. Kajwa's silver needle sold at?" When Suemo heard that Uncle Anya was going to repay it on his behalf, his heart warmed and he was moved. He hurriedly opened, "Uncle, don't go to the trouble. I've already negotiated with Mr. Kajwa to be his assistant for a few days to repay the silver needle." Uncle Anya was not persuaded. Suemo knew this wasn't good. He was clear that while the silver needle was nothing in his eyes, but for Uncle Anya, it was an impossible sum. He hurriedly said, "Mr. Kajwa said he felt that the needle was not fitting to his hand and had wanted to make a new one for some time. It is also very cheap, otherwise, why would it have broken so easily? It is not made for multiple uses. Mr. Kajwa has the materials on him to make a new one at any time." "Uncle, you don't understand, don't add to the mess. Mr. Kajwa, isn't that right? Very cheap. Easy to damage. Could make one at any time." Kajwa felt pain and fury. He had spent many years to make that silver needle and the materials used up all of his saving. But, he glanced at Agui's cold face out of the corner of his eye. His heart shook. The silver needle was expensive but his little life was more important. He pushed a smile onto his face. Yes, yes, it is nothing major. I had been planning on making a new one. Some of us was ideas are an inspiration to me, I'm the one benefiting. Kajwa was crying on the inside. Uncle Anya really believed it and an open smile appeared on his face. That's good, that's good. He turned around and stared at Swaemo for a long moment. Swaemo felt unconfident under the stare and stammered out, Uncle, what's with your look? Uncle Anya smiled and said with a snicker, this position isn't bad, enjoy it. Ha! Swaemo was very embarrassed. With loud laughter, Uncle Anya walked out of the room. He needed to supervise the youth in their daily cultivation. Kajwa released a breath. Good, he hadn't offended this dangerous person just now. Swaemo did not go to watch Uncle Anya's class like usual and continuously asked some questions about Mo matrices. As a matrix awakening master, Kajwa was widely read. At the beginning, he was not concerned and only explained due to Swaemo's identity, but as the questions deepened, his expression was taken over by shock and sternness. His responses became slower and he sank into thought. Was this youth really a matrix awakening master? Chapter 543, Kajwa Swaemo gritted his teeth, and bore the pain caused by the powers bouncing around his body as he tried to recover and reorganize his flesh. His wrist slowly turned, so slow as though it was unmoving. Fortunately, Swaemo had enough patience. As he bantered with Ague, he tried to exercise his pitifully small amount of muscle. The powers that were rampaging through his body were increasing at an astounding rate. Swaemo suspected that if he could not find a solution soon, what waited for his body was an explosion of just like Kajwa's silver needle. Even the strongest Mo physique had an upper limit of power that it could withstand. All the strange signs were ones that Pu Yao and Wei had never seen and did not have a solution for. Yet the techniques that Swaemo secretly learned from Uncle Anya were very effective. Even though he only moved one wrist minutely at this time, but gave him hope. Kajwa was sitting in a daze to his side in deep thought. He had maintained this posture for a whole night. After Swaemo had asked his a pile of questions last night, there were many problems that he had never considered before and he sank into contemplation. Swaemo didn't care about what he had caused. He was more willing to talk to Ague. Ague, when I completely recover, I will definitely be very powerful, at that time, I'll carry you. Gongsun Shidi has sent a message. He said that Big Brother Bing Yao and the others have found the water cloud embryos. When we return, we can use it directly. Right now, Turtle Island and the Mist People are building transportation formations so it won't be long. Shi Dong is very strong, and has taken over half of Little Savage Jie. Ji stood up and the aura of dominance rose, whoosh, and it attracted such a powerful battle general. Even Gongsun Shidi said he is not bad. Not bad. I just don't know if Little Savage Jie has Jingshi mines, it would be great if they did. Crack. The bones in Swaemo's wrist suddenly made a sound. A feeling of smoothness that had been lost for a long time had returned. Swaemo stilled and then he was overjoyed. He tried to move his wrist. Nimbleness and smoothness that he had not experienced since so long ago made Swaemo want to howl to the sky. Swaemo greedily rotated his wrist. Only after loss would he know the value. It seemed he hadn't endured his pains for nothing. Even though only one of his hands had recovered, he could now do many things. This didn't mean that the terrible situation inside his body was changing, but that he could once again control a portion of the power. Ague, look, my hand can move. Swaemo rotated his wrist like he was showing off a treasure. Ague didn't react at all. Swaemo was not demotivated. In a good mood, he instantly started to plan. He had never thought of this trip he and Ague had come on was a vacation. This was the Mo realm, an extremely unfamiliar and dangerous place. Even though Shattered Stone Town seemed so calm and peaceful to him, he still did not lose his wariness. He and Ague currently lacked the power to protect themselves. If they encountered a situation, that would be terrible. Xu Long and the others were still very far from Shattered Stone Jia and could not be depended on in the short term. What was most important now was recovering some ability to protect himself and then thinking of ways to resolve the problem of the powers running amok through his body. The recovery of his hand meant that his method was, at least in part, correct. As long as he persisted, the problem of movement would be solved. However, the amount of power in the muscles he could control was limited. This was just the power that he had not detected and did not use. Even if Suemo used all of that power, he would not be a match for Uncle Enya. He had to think of another method. Suemo's eyes gradually became clear. He turned around and looked at Kajua, who was deep in thought. He called, "Mr. Kajua, Mr. Kajua." "Ah." Kajua blankly turned his head. Moments later, his dazed expression became normal again. "Mr. Kajua, let's discuss the silver needle." Suemo's words were full of temptation. "Silver needle?" "Ah, silver needle." Kajua first paused and then he had a nervous expression. "Speak, speak." The silver needle was of the utmost importance to Kajua, but Suemo had ruined it. Even though Suemo had kept on saying he would repay with another one, Kajua didn't really believe him. However, he didn't dare to offend Suemo. Now that Suemo was raising the topic again, Kajua's heart was up in the air. "There are two methods." Suemo's tone was smiling. "The first, I will repay you with one that is exactly the same." Kajua instantly had a joyous expression. "However, you need to wait. You can see that I'm in a bit of trouble right now. I need to first resolve this, so you need to have patience." The joy on Kajua's face retreated. He recovered his calm and asked, "Then the second choice?" "The second choice is more complex." A hint of admiration flashed across Suemo's eyes as his tone turned. "I believe that you have replacement materials, may you take them out and let me see. Maybe we can make a completely new silver needle." Kajua shook his head. "Making a Matrix Awakening needle is not so easy." "Oh, so they are called Matrix Awakening needles." Suemo's tone was as usual. "Maybe it is possible but maybe not. I'm only providing a plan, and Mr. Kajua will have to make it himself. I believe that Mr. Kajua will be able to judge if the plan is plausible or not." Kajua had a doubtful expression. Could this youth in front of him really design a Matrix Awakening needle? He suddenly recalled Suemo's series of profound and difficult questions. In his eyes, Suemo instantly became much more mysterious. "All right," Kajua managed. He then took out the materials he had collected. Chicken blood stone, forest rotten wood, insect droppings. Suemo recognized the majority of the items, but there were some that Suemo did not recognize. After his gaze swept across all of the materials, he already had formed a plan. He asked Kajua for pen and paper. Using his right hand that had recovered, he started to draw. As the lines lengthened under Suemo's pen, shock and joy grew on Kajua's face. He started tightly at the tip of Suemo's pen and stopped breathing as though he was afraid his breathing would disturb Suemo. The room instantly became quiet and there was only the sound of the pen brushing against the paper. Moments later, Suemo stopped. He made a close examination to make sure there were no mistakes before he threw down the pen. "All right, it is yours now. This MO matrix is the MO matrix for the nether jellyfish. It belongs to the same type as the Matrix Awakening needle you had before. I think that this should not be a hard task for you. The primary materials to make this are the forest rotten wood, and then to be soaked in the chicken blood stone and the insect droppings." Suemo's voice was slightly tired. The MO matrix for the nether jellyfish was not complex, but compared to Suemo's pitiful endurance at present, it was not easy. Kajua's hand trembled as he held the paper. An abnormal red flush appeared on his face. His gaze was excited and heated as though he was holding a peerless treasure in his hands. To Ka Zhou, this was truly a treasure. The content on this paper alone was worth 10 Matrix Awakening needles. The MO matrix for the nether jellyfish was a true kernel-level MO matrix. The Blackwater Leech MO matrix in his past needle had just been a captain-level MO matrix. The two appeared to only be separated by one level, but the difference was drastic. Also, his eyes were skilled and he could see that the nether jellyfish MO matrix was complete. If he had doubts about Zhuo Mo's identity before this, then he was certain now that this youth, who was unable to move, definitely came from a high birth. Such a complete kernel-level MO matrix was something only those high-level MO families with noble blood could possess. If Ka Zhou went and sold this MO matrix, he could fetch a great price. Also, the other was able to choose a MO matrix and even the method to making it based on the materials he had on hand, the other's skill in MO matrices. Ka Zhou was blind and has offended sire. Sire, please forgive. Ka Zhou suddenly made a big bow and said with a sincere expression. Zhuo Mo stilled and then said, I was wrong first, Mr. Ka Zhou does not have to be like this. Ka Zhou was unaffected and continued, Sire's knowledge far surpasses Ka Zhou. Ka Zhou laughably thought lowly of you, Ka Zhou should die. Zhuo Mo didn't know if he wanted to laugh or cry. What do you want to say? Sire, please take Ka Zhou as an apprentice. Ka Zhou said loudly. Take you as an apprentice? Zhuo Mo looked at Ka Zhou that was much older than him and felt strange. He hurriedly said, No way, no way. Nan Yu, Zhang Zhe and the others were about the same age as Zhuo Mo and he had no problems fooling them. But if Ka Zhou, who was much older than himself, became his student then it would be really strange. Please, Darren, accept Ka Zhou as an apprentice. Ka Zhou was not verbally skilled and he only repeated this sentence again. Zhuo Mo had felt that Ka Zhou was weak and easy to bully before, but when an obedient person became stubborn, they were even scarier. After facing off for a while, Zhuo Mo almost went crazy. Alright, first make this Matrix Awakening needle, Zhuo Mo said weakly. His endurance was almost at the end, and Ka Zhou had gone crazy so he was not able to sustain himself. Ka Zhou excitedly stood. Yes, teacher. Hearing this, Zhuo Mo grimaced inside. He had accepted someone who could be the age of his uncle to be a student. The Mo were crazy, as expected. However, when Zhuo Mo calmed down and pondered it, he felt that accepting such a student was not a bad thing. Ka Zhou was a true Mo and had gone to many places. He was experienced and the identity of a Matrix Awakening Master could be protection in disguise for him. According to Zhuo Mo's knowledge, the status of a Matrix Awakening Master was high among low-level MO. Almost no one would oppose a Matrix Awakening MO. Even MO with power wouldn't offend a Matrix Awakening Master because they were extremely knowledgeable and often skilled in things like healing and poisons. This way, his and Agui's safety would increase. From this perspective, Zhuo Mo felt this wasn't bad. It seemed that he needed to study the MO matrices. It would not be good if he slipped up and lost this protection. Since he couldn't take anything else out of his ring, studying MO matrices was a good choice. Also, he had plenty of MO matrices. They were all ones that Pu Yao had collected over the past few millennia and they now benefited him. Chapter 544, Dong Zis Choice. Jiang Zhe sighed lightly and an expression of conflict appeared on his face. On the battlefield below him, the MO were fighting a losing battle. There were MO who continuously fearlessly charged in suicide attacks but in facing a completed battle formation, they were like moths charging into a fire. Jiang Zhe hadn't expected the fighting to be so violent. Even if he was used to great spectacles, he was still shocked at this sight. He couldn't help but feel a thread of respect towards those crazed MO. Without any doubt, this was an outstanding battalion. The respect did not cause Jiang Zhe to be soft-hearted. He spoke softly as he commanded, central formation, feign a withdrawal. Flanks, charge forward in a cross. The MO discovered that the enemy in front of them had suddenly retreated. They were instantly overjoyed. Was the other unable to withstand their charge any longer? At this time, a battalion suddenly charged in front of the right flank with lightning speed. The MO who had just relaxed mentally were stunned by the fierce charge. Like a knife through butter, this battalion charged through their ranks. The formation of the MO was cleaved apart. The morale that had just rose up instantly sank. What no one noticed was that another battalion had snuck behind their rear. The panicked MO were almost pierced through in an instant by the second charge. From the sky, the two battalions cut a perfect cross through the MO. They are finished. The woman next to Jiang Zhe stretched lazily as her voluptuous and mature body drew out an attractive curve with this motion. Several of the personal guards around them swallowed. Facing such a person, even Diana Xiao would not be unaffected. Jiang Zhe was silent, his long and snowy white hair blown into the air by the wind. His brow was slender and warm, his body tall, and upright like jade, standing in the air above the fighting. He would always unconsciously attract everyone's gaze, especially his calm and deep eyes, clear without any impurity. Any person that met his stare would be unconsciously attracted. As one of the most accomplished representatives of Xian Kong Temple's present generation, no matter where he went, he would attract stares. In Xian Kong realm, his reputation and fame surpassed even those great Diana Xiao that had been famed for many years. In the minds of young Diana Xiao, the name Jiang Zhe seemed to hold a magical power. In Xian Kong realm, there was only one person that could rival him, his Shixiang, Nangong Qin Lian. Unlike Jiang Zhe who was a battle general, Nangong Qin Lian was a pure Diana Xiao. One literary and one martial, but both were outstanding. Is there any news of Bihan? Jiang Zhe stared off into the distance, his thoughts unknown. Not yet. What is it? You miss him? The female raised an eyebrow with a teasing expression on her face. This beautiful and moving woman was Jiang Zhe Shiji, Feng Yu, and also his second-in-command. There was a mole at the corner of Feng Yu's mouth. It did not detract from her beauty, and against the contrast of her bright red lips, it was extremely seductive. I'm thinking if it is Bihan leading the other side. Jiang Zhe was not affected by Feng Yu at all and said lightly. You can't do it. Or you are worried you would lose. Feng Yu said heartlessly, did you guys in the past, have some special feelings? Feng Yu specially emphasized special. Jiang Zhe was used to Feng Yu Shixiang's teasing style since a long time ago. He wasn't angry and then he smiled slightly. Now that you say this, I'm feeling anticipation about fighting against him. I just don't know why the sect leader had taken him in. I didn't like him, since the first time I met him. His eyes are too vicious, like a wild beast. What about Cloud Si Jie? Jiang Zhe deflected the topic. Ding Zhen Shishu's status in the temple isn't high enough, he died for nothing. If those other Shishu died, would the temple be as indifferent to the situation as they are now? Feng Yu's brow scrunched as an angry expression rose on her face and her tone became less courteous. Jiang Zhe coughed lightly. Originally, Bihan had been sent to deal with it, but now that Bihan has betrayed us, and the situation is so chaotic, the temple. You don't have to defend those old people. Let's put the ugly stuff first. If you are going to become like them in the future, this sis will go play by herself then. Feng Yu raised an eyebrow, her tone filled with nonchalance. Jiang Zhe gave a grimace. He didn't know what to do with Feng Yu Shiji. After your defensive line stabilizes, I will go take revenge for Ding Zhen Shishu. If you want go, I will. Feng Yu suddenly said. Jiang Zhe who had appeared calm until now suddenly had a dark expression. Nonsense. Ding Zhen Shishu had mentored me in the past. I have to repay him, Feng Yu said serenely. Jiangzhe sighed as well and became silent. Kajua looked with intoxication at the Matrix Awakening needle in his hand. He continuously caressed it and couldn't stop touching it. The new Matrix Awakening needle was completely black and the blood-red Mo matrix spread over its surface like a spiderweb and glimmered eerily. Alright, stop looking. Zhou Mo understood Kajua's feelings, but after Kajua had laughed dumbly like this for a whole morning, he finally could not bear it any longer. Yes, teacher. Kajua seemed to wake up and carefully put away the Matrix Awakening needle. Uncle Enya was unable to believe that Zhou Mo had suddenly become Kajua's teacher, but after listening to Zhou Mo's speech about geniuses Uncle Enya had been mentally spun round and round, he managed to believe it. However, the side effect of this was that Dong Zi and the others did not dare to treat Zhou Mo like they used to. In front of Zhou Mo, they became constrained and careful. They had to maintain their respect towards the Matrix Awakening Masters. Every youth had been told this repeatedly. And no one else laughed at a Gui carrying Zhou Mo in a princess carry. People suddenly realized, no wonder Zhou was so strong, he wasn't a normal Mo. In order to make his Matrix Awakening Master identity more plausible, Zhou Mo started to study the topic of Matrix Awakening Master seriously. Zhou Mo was skilled in Mo matrices, forging, and seal formations. He managed to understand the craft without expending great effort. Awakening matrices was not content of a profound level, and for Zhou Mo, a freak who had seen many high-level Mo matrices, if he understood, his understanding of Matrix Awakening far surpassed the great majority of Matrix Awakening Masters. Kajua was filled with respect. The more he was in contact with teacher, the more he discovered just how vast his teacher's knowledge was. This caused Kajua to faithfully do whatever Zhou Mo instructed. Having a Matrix Awakening needle again, Kajua could awaken Dong Zi's matrix. Dong Zi, who had waited for a long time, was very excited and ran over instantly. The Matrix Awakening had attracted large numbers of Shattered Stone Town residents. Dong Zi was the most talented youth in this group, and most people hoped that Shattered Stone Town could produce a true expert. Kajua made a detailed examination of Dong Zi. Everyone stopped breathing in fear of disturbing Kajua. Zhou Mo was lying in a Gui's arms and saw the entire process. He understood. Kajua was going to start awakening the matrix when Zhou Mo suddenly spoke, "Wait." Kajua instantly stopped moving and respectfully came next to Zhou Mo to ask, "Teacher, what orders do you have?" The Mo that were watching in the surroundings shifted slightly. Even though they had accepted the reality that Zhou Mo had become Kajua's teacher, when Kajua called him this in public, it was still caused a strong reaction. Zhou Mo's age was about the same as Dong Zi and the others, yet this youth had become Kajua's teacher. Kajou did not reside in Shattered Stone Town, but he was famed in Shattered Stone Town. Dong Zi's talent was really pretty good. According to Weiss observations, Dong Zi should have alpine gorilla blood. Pure alpine gorillas were natural warriors with great strength, speed, and bravery. Zhou Mo had watched Kajou's inspection. He had confirmed that there were remnants of alpine gorilla matrix on Dong Zi's body, and Weiss' guess was proven. When Zhou Mo had been studying the profession of a Matrix Awakening Master, he found in the last few days that Matrix Awakening was similar to the matrices that he had engraved on Lei Peng and the others. However, the Mo were skilled in physical power, so they used Mo matrices, while Xiuzhe used Ling power, so they used seal formations. After confirming that Dong Zi had remnants of an alpine gorilla matrix on his body, Zhou Mo had a daring idea: could he complete Dong Zi's alpine gorilla matrix? Matrix Awakening Masters could awaken the Mo matrix, but that was only bringing out the hidden Mo matrix. It was only a minor adjustment and did not repair the Mo matrix. However, to Zhou Mo, who had engraved formations before, this idea was daring but was rational. Zhou Mo was not completely confident, and he decided to let Dong Zi make the final decision. Calling Dong Zi, his parents, Uncle Enya into the room, Zhou Mo told them his thoughts. Everyone was stunned. When they heard that Dong Zi had the bloodline of the alpine gorilla Mo, their faces became disbelieving. Zhuo Mo noticed that Dong Zi's gaze showed yearning and excitement. Kajua felt that his mind could not fully grasp the concept. Repair the Mo matrix. Kajua gaped. A long time later, he recovered and his expression suddenly became excited. Having been a matrix awakening master for a long time, Kajua knew what it meant if this daring idea could be realized. Azwa, you cannot joke about this, Uncle and Ya's tone was grave. How confident are you? 3/10, Zhuo replied with a conservative guess. After having told them this, he realized the risk and felt regret. He hoped that no harm would befall Dong Zi. In this period of time, Dong Zi had been very good to him. Dong Zi and his parents started discussing in low voices. They quickly made the decision. Dong Zi inhaled deeply. Azwa, I am willing to try this. It is very dangerous, your chance of death is very high. Zhuo Mo, who now deeply regretted bringing this up, had started to urge him to reconsider. I'm not afraid. Dong Zi said boldly, I want to become more powerful, this way, we won't be bullied. At this time, Dong Zi's father also spoke. He said respectfully, Mr. Zhuo, please give Dong Zi this chance. Our family, our shattered stone town needs this chance. Uncle Anya sighed deeply and then suddenly looked much older. Zhuo knew that there probably was something going on. He saw that they were extremely resolute and even Uncle Anya didn't object, so after some thought, he agreed, all right. But I need several days to prepare. Including Zhuo, no one had considered what kind of legend their decision would create. Chapter 545, Shattered Stone Chop. Xian Kong Temple had conquered the Mo-controlled territory, Cold Mountain Jia. This news was quickly spread throughout the four realms with the sound tablets. The four realms that had been in a state of chaos was lifted by the news. This was the first Mo Jia that four-realm heaven had taken, and the news was unexpected. Originally, people had thought the first one would be conquered by Kunlun or Tianhuan. No one had expected that it would be Xian Kong Temple. Xian Kong Temple was unexpectedly attention-catching in contrast to its usual low-key conduct. Jiang Zhe, who had obtained this victory, became one of the most popular battle generals in the four realms with this victory. Dong Zi's entire body was immersed in the black liquid of the medicinal pool. The medicinal fluid gave off a strange fragrance. Kajua was putting the materials that had been prepared into the medicinal pool one by one. Shattered Stone Town was remote and poor, so there weren't a lot of good materials on hand. Many materials were not available in Shattered Stone Jia. Zhuo Mo carefully picked and found some common materials to substitute for the rarer ingredients. Kajua had then made a trip in order to go purchase these items. It had to be said that the medicinal fluid that Zhuo Mo created was very effective. The medicinal power boiled and dark green Mo matrices appeared on Dong Zi's body, especially his arms that were almost entirely covered by the Mo matrix. The Mo matrix on his arms was the most detailed and clear. Large amounts of hair-thin Mo matrices formed an eerie and complex diagram. Looking from a distance, it looked like tattoos. Alpine Gorilla Matrix, this is the Alpine Gorilla Matrix. Kajua looked with intoxication at the tattoos on Dong Zi's body. As a matrix awakening master, his obsession with Mo matrices was almost an instinct. Even though Zhuo Mo had passed the Alpine Gorilla Matrix to him, and he was completely familiar with it, but when he saw the real thing, he couldn't help but be enchanted. Zhuo Mo did not speak, as it would disturb Kajua. He actually admired Kajua's ability. In the past, Kajua's education did not include any profound content. The reason that he had the skills he did now was, in part, because of his enthusiasm for Mo matrices. Turning his gaze to Dong Zi in the medicinal pool, Zhuo Mo's expression was relaxed. The situation looks pretty good, Zhuo Mo said in a small voice in his sea of consciousness. It is a pity that the materials are lacking, Wei said faintly. Pu Yao snorted coldly from the side. Mo knew that Wei was being extremely conservative in his judgment. The materials were not just a bit lacking. These materials were basically the lowest level of materials, and even so, it had taken all the Mo Bei that Kajwa had. There is no solution for this, Mo spread his hand and said helplessly. Mo's daring idea had received Wei's support. Wei had also guided him in making this medicinal pool. Supposedly, it was a kind of ancient sacrificial ceremony. Pu Yao gave a cold snort from the side. Boy, you better spend some more effort on your body. Otherwise, even we will be affected, Pu Yao said coldly. Wei was silent. On this, he was on the same side as Pu Yao. The situation is much better than before. I can even move my arm now, Mo purposefully showed off smugly. Ha, dying from exploding is a very tragic death. Pu Yao's face was disdainful. It is useless even if you can move your entire body. Your body right now is like a volcano, the inside which is becoming more and more restless. Either you cool it down, or vent it. Mo raised an eyebrow. What idea do you have? Pu Yao was silent for a moment before he said, if you can vent all of the power outside your body, your life will not be in danger. I know a Yao art that can do this. And then? Gu will become completely weak. Mo twisted his mouth. Gu won't do that. Gu still has to heal a Gue, has to find guess history, Ji still has many things to do. You do not have much time, Pu Yao's tone was emotionless. Based on the present state inside your body, you cannot support it for a long time. Mo's brow furrowed. How much longer? 1 month. The sea of consciousness became deathly silent. None of the three were interested in chatting further. Mo sat dazed in a Gui's embrace. He hadn't thought that the situation was this dire, it was worse than he had imagined. Teacher, can we begin? Kajwa's voice interrupted Mo's thinking. Mo refocused and glanced at the medicinal pool. Seeing the water in the medicinal pool was now clear and he could see the bottom, he became alert. Start. Kajwa took out the matrix awakening needle that he had made recently. His expression became serious and focused. Mo's understanding of Mo matrices far surpassed Kajwa, but in terms of actual practical skill, he could not compare to Kajwa. It was the first time that Kajwa was engraving the Alpine Gorilla matrix, but his movements were not raw, flowing with an unique rhythm and extremely elegant. The process continued for a whole day. Dongzi was covered in fine and complex Mo matrices that looked like eerie tattoos. Kajwa disregarded his tiredness and a thread of nervousness appeared in his eyes. He closed his eyes and 20 breaths later, he opened them, his faint brown eyes were completely still. The matrix awakening needle on his hand suddenly gave off a serene black energy. The black energy shrouded the matrix awakening needle and made it appear as though Kajwa was holding a black bolt of energy. The black energy suddenly entered between Dongzi's brows. Pain came onto Dongzi's face and his entire body convulsed violently. A deep wild roar came from Dongzi's throat that was filled with pain. Mo's heartbeat was raised as he watched Dongzi roll on the ground. The Mo matrix had been engraved and was activated, but the success would determine on whether or not Dongzi's body could tolerate the complete Alpine Gorilla matrix. He had to make it. Mo was cheering for Dongzi on the inside and extremely nervous. Threads of black energy seemed to appear out of thin air and enter Dongzi's Mo matrix. Dongzi rolled even more violently and gave heart-wrenching howls. But no matter how he rolled, the Mo matrix on his body was not affected at all. As it absorbed more and more black energy, the Mo matrix gradually became bright. Dongzi's breathing was weakening as his body convulsed. Mo was staring unblinkingly at the Mo matrix, extremely nervous and held his breath. The Mo matrix that lit up gradually dimmed. After a while, it gradually lit up again and then dimmed, pulsing as though it was breathing. After 7 to 8 rounds of pulsing, the MO matrix no longer became bright again and Dong Zi was motionless on the ground. The MO matrix dimmed and then gradually became faint, so faint that the naked eye was unable to see it. Dong Zi did not look any different than usual. Dong Zi's breathing sounded, long and serene as though he was sleeping. Zhuo Mo's heart came back to ground and hurriedly stopped Kajua that was going forward. Let him rest, do not disturb him. Kajua stilled and then he stammered out a question, "Suc, success?" "Yes. Success." Zhuo Mo's tone was filled with joy. After 4 hours, Dong Zi woke up. He looked around dazedly and then looked at his hands. He asked Zhuo Mo in puzzlement, "Zhuo, when are you going to work on me?" Seeing Dong Zi acting like this, Zhuo Mo couldn't help but roar with laughter. "Huh, it's already done." "Done?" Dong Zi stilled. He then raised his hands and looked for a while before shaking his head and said, "Zhuo, don't try to fool me, it is the exact same as before." Zhuo Mo did not explain and said with a smile, "Come, let's go out. Uncle Anya and the others are definitely waiting impatiently." It wasn't just Uncle Anya and Dong Zi's parents that were waiting impatiently. All the residents of the town were filled with curiosity. There hadn't ever been a matrix awakening that had taken such a long time. Dong Zi was the most talented youth in the town, kind and honest, and everyone liked him. They were also full of anticipation about his future. Seeing Dong Zi walk out, Shattered Stone Town shook. Everyone came out and surrounded him. "Dong Zi, show us. Dong Zi, show Auntie how powerful you are now. Big brother Dong Zi." Dong Zi had never seen anyone shout and talk to him together like this. He instantly didn't know what to do. Thankfully, the ones that came were people he were familiar with, so he was not afraid. Dong Zi was quickly pushed by the flow of people to the training grounds. Uncle Anya was teaching the other youths in cultivation at this time. When Uncle Anya saw Dong Zi, he was first overjoyed, but after examining Dong Zi, he couldn't help but have a puzzled expression. Dong Zi looked the same as before. Dong Zi's parents were very excited. "Dong Zi, it's done." Uncle Anya's question was very general. The matter about the repaired Mo matrix was shocking, and so it was kept a secret with only Uncle Anya and Dong Zi's parents knowing the truth of the matter. Uncle Anya was highly respected in Shattered Stone Town. When he spoke, the noisy crowd instantly quieted. Dong Zi scratched his head blankly. "Zhuo said it is done." Uncle Anya's expression did not change as he moved to make space. "And, come, try, do you remember the Shattered Stone Strike that I taught you?" Shattered Stone Strike was Uncle Anya's ultimate move, and this set of strikes was famous in the area. Uncle Anya had created it based on the striking method he learned in the military, and it was very strong. "Oh," Dong Zi responded dazedly. In reality, he still didn't understand what was going on. However, Uncle Anya had taught him everything he knew. He would obey what Uncle Anya said without any hesitation. Zhuo Mo was in Agui's arms and filled with anticipation, while Kajua's face was red from excitement. Dong Zi's legs were set apart, his arms slightly lowered with his right hand held straight like a blade. At this time, the blankness on Dong Zi's face had disappeared. His expression was stern, his eyes sharp, his entire person like an unsheathed blade. Zhuo Mo thought Dong Zi was innocent in personality, and did not have stray thoughts. Just a position, and it could be seen he had truly learned from Uncle Anya. "Strike!" A shout, and then his slightly lowered arm moved, his hand like a blade as he chopped forward. Zhuo Mo's eyes were sharp and saw it clearly. Dong Zi's palm was shaking at a very high frequency. With every shake, there would be a thread of red energy produced from Dong Zi's palm, and the red energies would layer together. When the vibrations reached hundreds of times, the red energy was almost tangible and covered the line of his palm. Hiss! The red blade energy left his hand. Boom! A ruler-straight gully stretched forward from Dong Zi's feet, almost 20 zhang before it ended. The surroundings were completely silent. Chapter 546, A Daring Idea. Uncle Anya stared at the 20 zhang long cut in front of Dong Zi. His expression changed rapidly and he was astounded. Captain level. Dong Zi's shattered stone strike had reached the skill level of captain level. Uncle Anya was captain level himself and was very familiar with this move's power. If he used all his power, he could produce the same effect. Uncle Anya knew Dong Zi's strength very well. He was the most talented among the youths of Shattered Stone Town, but he was far from reaching the captain level. But now, captain level. Uncle Anya couldn't help but turn to look at Zuomo in Agui's arms. There wasn't any expression on Zuomo's face. His gaze was also normal and there didn't seem to be any change. Wasn't he shocked? Uncle Anya almost didn't believe his eyes. However, he had gone into the world and seen more, and he knew more than the people here. Azwa's origins were not simple. Thinking back to it, Azwa and Agui had walked out of the Gobi Desert. In the past, he had felt that these two had great luck, but thinking carefully now, how could they not have any strength and still manage to survive weeks in the Gobi Desert? How could they be simple people? Uncle Anya grimaced inside. It seemed that he was getting old, and actually had misjudged these two young people. His gaze landed back on Dong Zi. Dong Zi clearly was frightened by his own move. His face was panicked and he didn't know what to do. Uncle Anya laughed. Captain level, Dong Zi was in captain level now, his future would be even brighter. If Shattered Stone Town could produce an expert, then everyone's lives would be much better. Uncle Anya suddenly felt the heavy burden on his shoulders instantly became lighter. Uncle Anya walked next to Agui and said emotionally, Azwa, thank you. Zuomo said with a smile, uncle, don't be courteous, this is something I should do. I hadn't thought that Dong Zi would level up to captain level directly, it really is. Uncle Anya couldn't keep the wonder out of his tone. Captain level. Hearing this, Zuomo paused and then said to himself, no wonder I felt it was slightly weak, so it is only captain level. Finishing, he ran into his sea of consciousness and started to discuss with Wei. Alpine Gorilla Matrix is a kernel level MO matrix, why is Dong Zi only at the captain level? Zuomo asked Wei. The change is a process. The MO matrix will continuously refine his flesh and blood until his body and the matrix truly become one and then his strength can break into kernel level, Wei explained. Zuomo finally understood. Talking to Wei, Zuomo did not notice that Uncle Anya's expression had froze. Slightly weak, captain level. A beat later, Uncle Anya refocused. He increasingly felt that Zuomo was even more mysterious. Where did Azwa come from? Those with captain-level strength were unable to enter those elite battalions but definitely had no problem being admitted to those normal battalions. In little places like Shattered Stone Town, people at the captain level were the strongest. As expected, they came from big places. Uncle Anya reflected inside. Uncle, I'm very strong now, very strong. Dong Zi charged over excitedly. Very powerful. Zuomo heard this and spoke, just captain level. Just captain level. Uncle Anya perceptively closed his mouth. Your body has not been completely tempered, the MO matrix has not merged into your flesh, you do not have a MO physique and the MO skills you practice. Oh, Zuomo finally remembered that the one teaching Dong Zi was Uncle Anya. Uncle Anya was right beside him. Uncle Anya laughed freely. Azwa, don't be polite, Uncle knows his skill, and it really isn't anything. Immediately after, Anya turned and said sternly to Dong Zi, listen carefully to Azwa, remember everything that Azwa tells you. Uncle Enya was clear that this was a 1 in 1,000 chance for Dong Zi. Dong Zi clearly did not understand. He said blankly, I will listen to Azwa, he's so strong. This boy, but even a stupid Emo has stupid good fortune. Uncle Enya did not state it explicitly. He felt very happy inside and then said, N, listen carefully to Azwa. I will first take care of them. Finishing, he pulled Dong Zi's parents away. Azwa, tell me, they'll listen to you. Dong Zi patted his chest and said in a loud voice. Zhuemo looked at Dong Zi's face filled with sincerity and felt a thread of guilt. Gu is really too evil. Seducing such an innocent youth to nurture him into a strong sidekick. He felt guilt, but when the words reached his mouth, it became, HMHM, I have a very high-intensity cultivation plan here. If you can finish it, you might rise to colonel level. Really? Dong Zi's eyes were bright and filled with desire. If you can complete it. I will definitely complete it. Dong Zi said in a loud voice as though he was swearing an oath. His face was filled with determination. Such a brave youth. Wei praised. You are becoming more and more devious. Zhuemo ignored Wei and said, however, Dong Zi, you have to promise me something. Something? Azwa, speak. Dong Zi asked curiously. You can see that my present state is not good and Agui is very soft and weak. My family has already sent people to get us but they are too far away. They will probably arrive after a long time. During this time, you have to protect Agui and I. Zhuemo's tone was serious. Of course, you and Agui are so weak. Azwa, you might understand a lot but your body is too weak. Dong Zi's face was matter-of-fact. Suddenly, his expression became nervous. Azwa, is someone targeting you? No, this is just in case. That's good, that's good. Dong Zi becoming captain level caused a ruckus in Shattered Stone Town and Kajwa's reputation had become unrivaled. Countless parents came with their children to find Kajwa and Kajwa was in a sorry state dealing with them. No one came to bother Zhuemo's sickly-looking appearance caused people to not bear to disturb him. In the sea of consciousness. I have an idea, Zhuemo said seriously, what if I also engrave a Mo matrix into myself? Pu Yao and Wei were shocked by Zhuemo's idea. You are not a Mo, Pu Yao was the first to object. But I have achieved the great Mo physique, Zhuemo said unhesitatingly. Pu Yao was silent. He finally remembered that this freak had made it to the great Mo physique even though he was not Mo. What kind of Mo matrix do you want to engrave? Wei asked gravely. My body right now is like a volcano that is about to erupt. The power inside is increasing, and the collisions are becoming more violent. The end result is exploding. Zhuemo was calm as though he was describing something unrelated to him. His tone was calm and composed. The best method is to reorganize the powers in my body back to their state from before, but it is too difficult and I do not know where to start. The other way is to strengthen the volcano by making the mountain stronger and harder to break through. Interesting. Even though it cannot solve the root problem, we can try, Wei said. But the effect of low-level Mo matrices will not be strong with your present state. Your physical powers are also in chaos so you probably cannot activate high-level Mo matrices. Zhuemo nodded and said, yes, I want to engrave a portion of a Mo matrix on my arm. When the Mo matrix is engraved, the blood and flesh there would recover. It would be like a strong barrel. I will then try to direct the powers into the barrel. This way, the other parts of my body would not contain these chaotic powers, and can recover more quickly. He turned around and said to Pu Yao, you said last time you had a Yao art that could guide the powers in the body out? Since it can guide it out, then it definitely can be used to guide the powers to my arm. Pu Yao and Wei sank into deep thought. But quickly, the two raised their heads simultaneously and their eyes flashed with an excited light. The Yao art needs to be changed slightly, but not by very much. The Mo matrix has to be strong, but only has to be strong. With this kind of requirement, Mo matrix is easy to find. Once the direction was confirmed, the rest of the matter was not very hard for experts like Pu Yao and Wei. Sui Mo was slightly excited. He finally had hope of bidding farewell to this paralyzed state. This is the Mo matrix for the 1000-layer iron kauri, kernel-level Mo matrix, very suited to you. The Mo matrix is not complex. This is a mollusk that lives deep in the sea, each is the size of a fist. Its outer shell is one of the hardest materials in the world and can tolerate shocking amounts of power. Wei quickly found a suitable Mo matrix. The Mo matrices that Pu Yao collected were mostly powerful and great Mo matrices, but in terms of how much he knew, he could not compare to Wei, especially in obscure areas. It really isn't complex. Sui Mo examined it for a long time. Pu Yao also produced the recipe needed. He had studied Mo matrices for a long time, even longer than Sui Mo. This was not hard for him. But when Sui Mo gave the recipe to Kajua's expression became strange. Is there a problem? Sui Mo saw something was not right. Teacher, the materials on here, Kajua said slowly, are very expensive. Very expensive? Sui Mo blanked. Yes, teacher, very expensive. Like this, date fish bone powder, this student has only heard of this, and has never seen it before. This blood gelatin, this student has never seen it before, and it is definitely not sold in most shops. Kajua stammered out. Sui Mo became depressed. He finally got a plan with some hope but found that his Jingshire, Mo Bay, wasn't enough. Even more depressing was that it wasn't that Sui Mo didn't have the wealth, but that he couldn't take the Jingshire out. Was there anything more tragic than this? Sui Mo cried inside. An unfamiliar voice suddenly interrupted Sui Mo's grieving. Hello, Mr. Sui. The one who spoke had a very deep voice with a unique resonance. Sui Mo looked up and examined the person. A tall and proportional figure wrapped in dark green armor. Dark red eyes looked at Sui Mo without any hint of warmth. Colonel level. Sui Mo instantly discovered the other's strength from the presence the other exuded. Sui Mo's heart shook and felt a threat of danger. Chapter 547, Jia Master Tseng E Colonel level. If this was in the past, Sui Mo had complete confidence he could destroy the man standing in front of him. At normal strength, he was also colonel level, but his great Mo physique was ranked second among colonel level physiques and would allow him to dominate Mo of the same level. Average Mo that were in brigadier level wouldn't be a match for him. But now, Sui Mo grimaced. A single colonel was enough to defeat everyone in Shattered Stone Town. I hadn't expected to meet a colonel expert in a little place as Shattered Stone Town, it really is my honor. Sui Mo's tone was light as he said, apologies, this one's body has some problems and is unable to move. If there is any offense, sir, please have tolerance. The other smiled slightly and said, no matter, this one has heard long ago about Mr. Sui and knows Mr. Sui is not a normal person. Seeing you today, you are as extraordinary as expected. This one is Chao Yu, and is under the command of Tseng Yi Darren. His voice was deep and carried an unique resonance. Heard long ago. Sui Mo's heart shook. Had the matter with Dong Zi attracted the other's attention? Seeing Sui Mo remain silent, Chao Yu was not angry. His dark red eyes stared at Sui Mo as he said directly, which teacher did Mr. Sui have? Matrix awakening masters that can cause their targets to level up through matrix awakenings are very rare. Sui Mo did not answer and asked in response, does sir have a matter to ask of me? Chao Yu did not pursue the topic and looked meaningfully at Sui Mo. He said, it seems that Mr. Sui doesn't have simple origins. For some reason, Zhuemo felt this person's words were dark like a cold wind blowing at his back. Chao Yu smiled and drawled, "This one wants to invite Mr. Zhua to be a guest for a few days at Stone City." Be a guest? Stone City? Zhuemo was a clever person and naturally was able to hear the implied threat in the words. Suddenly, Mo walked over holding an unconscious Kajua in his hand. "What are you dragging on for?" the income said discontentedly. He was clearly unsatisfied with Chao Ye's efficiency. Zhuemo knew that he was unable to avoid it and said in a deep voice, "I'll go with you." Chao Yu laughed unconcernedly and said, "Maybe Mr. Zhuo will thank us in the future." Zhuemo remained silent and only stared coldly at the other. What to do? Do you have a solution? Zhuemo impatiently asked Pu Yao and Wei in the sea of consciousness. A Gui was lost to the world, her Shen power only working occasionally. If the other were provoked it could be disastrous. But he had no ability to fight. Zhuemo was extremely panicked. With your present state, even the best solution is useless, Pu Yao said coldly. Wait for a chance. Wei said calmly, since they came to find you, they definitely have something to ask. Before you learn the details of the situation, do not do anything. Zhuemo thought and quickly calmed down. Wei was right, the other clearly had intentions. They might have come for the Mo matrix. Pu Yao's eye narrowed and murderousness flashed through his bloody pupil. He was clearly discontent. They are brave to act against me. If something happened to Zhuemo, none of them would end up well. Acting against Zhuemo was acting against them. Zhuemo felt slightly ashamed. Compared to the two old veterans, his mentality was still slightly tender. However, he was a leader, and after calming down from the initial panic, his mind started to quickly turn. Those two people were both colonel level. After interacting with Uncle Anya in these days, Zhuemo knew the general situation. In Shattered Stone Jia, colonels were in the ranks of experts. It was not a small matter for two colonels to appear together. Chao Yu and the other came in the open and had no intentions of disguising themselves. Zhuemo was curled up in a Gui's embrace as he continued to organize his body. Even though the effects could not be immediately seen, it was the only thing he could do now. Chao Yu and the other had two enormous black bats as steeds. The wingspan was 6 zhang, and the back was broad enough to hold 7 to 8 people. The black bats looked intimidating but they did not fly quickly. When they flew, a ball of black wind enveloped them which blocked the harsh winds. After flying for 2 days, a black mountain appeared in Zhuemo's view. The entire mountain was as black as ink, the drop-off steep as it floated in the sky. Zhuemo noticed that there were layers of wind around the mountain. The wind carried countless shards of rock that formed a belt of shattered rock. When they flew near the shattered rock belt, sharp howls almost pierced people's eardrums, the wailing causing the hearer's scalp to prickle. Chao Yu had been paying attention to Zhuemo the entire journey. He couldn't help but marvel as he saw that Zhuemo's gaze was still calm right now. In this shattered stone belt, the hard wind cut like blades. As the wind carried shattered rock fragments, if one was pulled in, even the strongest body would be ground into powder. Has Mr. Zhua seen such a thing at other places? Chao Yu couldn't help ask. No, Zhuemo replied indifferently. It was the first time that Zhuemo had no agency, he was unable to take the initiative. He was like a fish on the chopping block and could only await for others to act on him. His fighting abilities were zero, his most trusted powers had disappeared. Forced to such a hopeless situation, all of the carelessness, nonchalance, and laziness had disappeared without a trace. Because there was still a Gui. Other than his little life, there was still a Gui. Chatterbox Zhuemo became silent once again. He wrung out his mind to try to think of anything he could do. He used every second to organize his body even though the actions did not have much meaning. All of his stray thoughts disappeared. Zhuemo was focused. Chao Yu saw that Sui Mo didn't have the interest in talking, so he smiled and closed his mouth. The two black bats charged into the shattered stone wind belt without any hesitation. A light shield lit up around the bodies of the black bats. The piercing howls instantly disappeared. Sui Mo felt his vision blur and the scenery change. The floating black pieces of stone formed a path that appeared in front of them and stretched into the distance. The black bats flew above the stone path. Soon after, they flew in front of a black palace. There were two Mo guarding the palace gates. One of them saw Chao Yu and his fellow, smiled and said, "You have just returned. Jia Master has almost run out of patience." Chao Yu grimaced. "We didn't dare to rest for a moment on the road, we didn't even take break to drink water until now." Sui Mo's gaze focused slightly. "Jia Master." Shattered Stone Jia only had one Jia Master. Sui Mo remembered Uncle Anya had said the Jia Master of Shattered Stone Jia was called Tseng Yi. "Don't complain to me," the Mo guarding the door laughed and said. He then examined Sui Mo and said, "This little boy is the Matrix Awakening Master you found? Are you sure? He's so sick. This girl is also so ugly." Hearing this, murderousness rose inside Sui Mo. He looked deeply at the other and memorized the other's appearance. In the sea of consciousness, Sui Mo's killing energies are much heavier than before, Wei said lightly. Pu Yao said unconcernedly, "This is good." The boy lacked motivation, and was too content with what he had. "He treats a Gui very differently," Wei said meaningfully. "Women are the most effective." Pu Yao felt slight regret. "If I'd known sooner, I would have shoved a few women towards him before. A Gui isn't bad." Wei seemed to think of something, his tone reminiscing. "How about shoving a few more women at the boy?" Pu Yao spoke to himself. "This is the Matrix Awakening Master you found?" a man slowly asked. Sui Mo examined the Jia Master of Shattered Stone Jia. Tseng Yi's figure was not tall nor brawny. His body was actually very thin, a thinness that felt abnormal to Sui Mo. He was wearing pure white robes. What surprised Sui Mo the most was that he couldn't feel any killing energy from the other. Tseng Yi's chin was pointy, his face exquisite. What was most eye-catching was his almond-yellow eyes that were extremely similar to snake pupils. But if one underestimated him because of this, they would die a tragic death. General. This Jia Master that looked as though he could be blown away by the wind was the first General Mo that Sui Mo had ever encountered. As expected from the Master of a Jia, the general rank of Mo was equivalent to the Yuanying of Shuzha. Even if Sui Mo was fully recovered, he would not be a match for Tseng Yi. "Is he a snake Mo?" Sui Mo asked Wei. A rare white-fanged snake Mo." Wei's tone carried a rare thread of seriousness. "White-fanged snake Mo. This branch of snake Mo is an ancient snake Mo. Their succession is a very unique kind of Mo physique, the White Fang Mo physique." Wei talked rapidly. "If they break into general rank, they can cultivate the White Fang Mo physique. The White Fang Mo physique is a general rank Mo physique." Sui Mo's heart dropped. His Great Day Mo physique was a colonel-level Mo physique which was 2 ranks lower than the other's White Fang Mo physique. Even if Wei didn't say it, Sui Mo knew that the difference between the two of them was insurmountable. Now even Pu Yao did not talk. The Great Day Mo physique was ranked second in colonel rank. If he encountered normal brigadier-level Mo physiques, he might have a chance, but facing a general, there was no chance. Well, think of something else." Sui Mo recovered his calm. Pu Yao and Wei exchanged a look and saw the shock in each other's eyes. They hadn't expected that Sui Mo would still have such motivation and spirit under such a disadvantageous and unbalanced situation. Chao Ye's voice interrupted the communication between Sui Mo, Pu Yao and Wei. "Jia Master." This subordinate encountered Mr. Sui coincidentally in Shattered Stone Town. This subordinate personally saw him awaken the matrix for a youth, and the youth directly level up to captain level. A burst of conversation instantly rose in the large hall. All the MO had disbelieving expressions. Matrix awakening was common among low-level MO, but directly leveling up was extremely rare. Tseng Yi had some surprise on his face. "Oh, you are saying he caused a youth to directly level up to captain level?" This subordinate saw it personally," Chao Yu said respectfully. He then pointed at the unconscious Kajua and said, "He is called Kajua, and he is Mr. Zhua's student." "Jia Master, this is Kajua, this subordinate has seen him before, he is not bad, but this subordinate has never heard of him having a teacher." Among the crowd, a tall MO stood up, "Humph. I think Chao Yu is just making things up." Chao Yu didn't even look at the MO and said, "Jia Master, you can wake Kajua up and question him personally." Tseng Yi smiled and lightly waved his hand. A Yu is a careful person and wouldn't make a mistake. Finishing, he suddenly stood up and slowly walked in front of Zhuemo. Chapter 548, Incurable. The almond-yellow pupils were clearly harmless, but Zhuemo felt as though their stare was gripping him by the throat and he was unable to breathe. Was this the difference in their strength? Zhuemo was shocked. Just as Zhuemo was going to suffocate, the restless power inside his body suddenly exploded. Countless streams rampaged and charged in Zhuemo's body like a flood. The invisible pressure pushing down on him disappeared with a pop. Zhuemo felt his body lighten. His breathing started again. The powers inside of his body lost their target and gradually calmed. From beginning to end, Zhuemo did not move. No one knew of such a violent change inside of his body. Tseng Yi's eyes were thoughtful and then he smiled slightly. "This one has a favor to ask of Mr. Zhua." Kajua carefully inspected the unconscious young female on the bed. The features of the young female were similar to Tseng Yi and should be Tseng Yi's daughter or someone close. The young female's features were exquisite, the warm and soft red lips slightly open, the delicate brow slightly creased as though she was enduring pain. A short time later, Kajua started to sweat. It had taken him a long time to understand what had happened after he was woke up. After the initial panic, he quickly calmed down. If he encountered something as dangerous as this by himself, he would have started trembling long ago, but since his teacher was behind him, he didn't worry so much. Zhuemo's endless bag of tricks had completely persuaded Kajua. Kajua even felt that if it was about MO matrices, there was nothing that would be a problem for teacher. As Kajua continued his inspection, the MO matrix on the young female's body gradually floated to the surface. The ivory-white MO matrix was hard to detect on the pale skin if one did not look closely. Zhuemo was slightly surprised. This was the first time he saw ivory-colored MO matrices. "This isn't simple." Wei's expression was grave. The white Fang snake Mo's greatest barrier in life is breaking through to general level. If they can, they will form the white Fang Mo physique, if they fail, they will end up like this. Ivory white MO matrices is an immature MO matrix. An immature MO matrix? It was the first time Zhuemo heard this term. Wei flicked a look at Pu Yao. Pu Yao snorted and then spoke, "The MO matrix on the body is not unchanging. When you reach a new level, the MO matrix on your body will change as well, and becomes more mature, more perfect. This is what maturation is. However, if something happens during the process and the MO matrix's maturation is interrupted, it will become like this. So that is how it is." Zhuemo's understanding of MO matrices increased by the day. He instantly understood when Pu Yao pointed it out. He quickly found this was a troublesome problem. This kind of problem was not easy to solve. As expected, Wei said helplessly, "This kind of state, in the MO world, is incurable." Pu Yao was also silent. He might study MO matrices but this kind of state wasn't in the scope of his study. Zhuemo felt his head swell. Kajwa finished his last test and retreated with his forehead full of sweat. He looked hopefully at Suemo. He felt there wasn't anything that could stop teacher. Mr. Sua, how is it? Tseng Yi asked. His almond-yellow snake pupils looked coldly at Suemo. Suemo felt his scalp prickle. He knew if he didn't have anything, he would not be able to walk alive out of here today. Jia Master is a white-fanged snake Mo. Suemo suddenly said. Mr. Sua is knowledgeable. A hint of surprise flashed across Tseng Yi's eyes. White-fanged snake Mo was a rare kind of Mo and not many people knew of them. Tseng Yi felt some hope that the other was able to recognize it at a glance and the implied skill and knowledge behind it. White-fanged snake Mo will reach the white-fanged Mo physique when they enter general level. I had thought it was a rumor and not that it is actually so. As Suemo talked, his mind whirled furiously. Kajwa's mouth was gaping widely. For him, this was extremely new. Tseng Yi's eyes narrowed slightly and then he laughed lightly. Mr. Sua is very knowledgeable, this one feels respect. Then Mr. Sua should have some explanation about daughter's situation. Mr. Sua, please explain. Suemo said indifferently, honored miss has failed in the breakthrough, the maturation of her Mo physique has been interrupted. Right now, her body is probably in chaos, and her life in danger. A light flashed across Tseng Yi's eyes. Suemo felt as though Tseng Yi suddenly turned into a giant, the great pressure almost making him unable to breathe. This time, the chaotic turbulence inside his body did not move. Tseng Yi instantly realized that this reaction was not beneficial and restrained his presence. Suemo felt his body relax and he could breathe again. General level and having a Mo physique, the power was terrifying. Suemo was shocked inside. He heard Tseng Yi say in a low voice, this one has found more than 100 Matrix Awakening Masters and only Mr. Sua could identify the ailment. This one feels admiration. Since Mr. Sua can correctly diagnose it, then Mr. Sua must have a solution. Suemo said through his teeth, truthfully, it is the first time this one has seen such a situation. Even though the cause is known, this one doesn't have a good grasp on the solution. Tseng Yi gave a smile, Mr. Sua is too modest. Even though Tseng Yi had a smile on his face, Suemo felt that smile was glacial. Suemo knew that he could not refuse. His mind whirled furiously and he continued, this one is not being modest. Even though it is the first time this one has seen such an ailment, but this one has heard that it is incurable from many sources. Incurable. Tseng Yi stilled. A hint of grief shone in his eyes but he quickly recovered. Suemo's heart shook. This Mo's ability to control his emotions was astounding. This one believes Mr. Sua would have a way, Tseng Yi said slowly. Suemo knew the crucial time has come. He said calmly, this one has some ideas but will only know if they are plausible after trying. However, this one will first say if Jia Master wants this one to do this, you need to have enough patience. Life is important. This one's ideas needs to carry out a lot of experimentation. Hearing this, Tseng Yi smiled and said, that is to be expected. I will give the order to fully cooperate with Mr. Sua. However, in order for Mr. Sua to have better results, Mr. Sua will have to temporarily reside in Stone City. Suemo had expected this. He nodded and said, all right. Tseng Yi was very satisfied with Suemo's perceptiveness. He believed that if Suemo was restricted to this place, Suemo wouldn't dare to play any tricks. Then Suemo was taken to a nearby compound. There were 2 Brigadier Mo guarding at the door. Only now did Suemo release a breath. He had never experienced the power suppression of higher levels on lower levels. If his mind was not this strong, he would have lost his mind facing Tseng Yi. However, when he thought of the 2 Brigadier Mo outside the door, Suemo grimaced. This time, they wouldn't be able to escape. Even if his power recovered, there wouldn't be any hope. Zheng Yi had general-level strength and the white-fanged Mo physique, that was enough to suppress Sui Mo. His gaze landed on Agui's expressionless face. For some unknown reason, Sui Mo suddenly thought of Agui's beautiful and stunning bare feet that he saw through the strands of hair blown up by the wind. On the rough rock, the beautiful and exquisite bare feet were flawless and tempting. But this pair of feet trembled from the burden with every step in the wind and sand. There was no stopping as she carried him step by step. His line of sight was mostly occluded, but these short glimpses made the situation clear. Sui Mo's eyes flashed. The low mood flew away. He felt full of energy. He was not demotivated by the situation in front of him. He believed he could overcome this obstacle. Agui. I'll definitely take you and leave here, Sui Mo said to himself. He started to ponder his present situation. Even though he was in a cage, he had a chance to breathe. In the short term, he didn't need to worry about his safety. This amount of time was enough for him to do something. Ba La looked at the inventory list and felt great pain. Ever since that strange Matrix Awakening Master came, countless materials had been taken from his place. Ba La was the housekeeper of the Jia Master. Every time, he had to give his permission for these lists. Even though the Jia Master had already ordered him to do his best to satisfy what the other needed, he still felt pain. However, he didn't dare to do anything about the requests. Everyone knew the love Jia Master had towards Mississippi. If he provoked the Jia Master because of this, it was a road leading to death. He gritted his teeth and agreed to hand over the materials. Ba La understood his master very well. The Jia Master wasn't one that was easily fooled. If that damned Matrix Awakening Master could not save Miss when the time came, he would die terribly. In the hands of the Jia Master, dying was not an easy matter. None of the Matrix Awakening Masters that had come before had left alive. Sui Mo's little yard was still guarded by 2Mo. They were only responsible for standing guard and were not concerned with what was happening inside. Are you familiar with the Mo matrices I taught you? Sui Mo asked Kajua. Familiar. Kajua nodded. Then let's start. Sui Mo did not chat. Time was extremely important for him. Kajua carefully started to engrave the 1,000-layer iron Kaori Mo matrix on Sui Mo's right palm. The Mo matrix was not complex and Kajua finished in 4 hours. Then Kajua picked up one of the medicinal fluids that had been prepared. These fluids were made using materials they'd gotten from Ba La with the excuse they were for experiments. Kajua dipped into the fluid and started to brush it onto the Mo matrix. A burning feeling came from his palm. Sui Mo was joyed. Kajua used the next medicinal fluid and brushed again and again. The feeling of burning increased. Sui Mo felt as though his palm was going to burn to ash, his entire palm was red like liquid metal. Kajua took out a vial that glowed with a serene blue light, the last medicinal fluid. The moment the medicinal fluid touched the Mo matrix, a feeling of cool comfort formed. Sui Mo almost groaned in pleasure. When the serene blue medicinal fluid touched the Mo matrix, it quickly permeated into the Mo matrix. The entire Mo matrix quickly became serene blue and covered Sui Mo's entire palm. When the medicinal fluid entered the last stroke of the Mo matrix, something changed. Chapter 549, The Mountain Dragon Corps Shu Long's group encountered trouble. A group of Mo was staring at them with malicious intent. The Mo that was leading the group arrogantly shouted, "Listen well to ye. Hand over half of your things and obey, and ye will allow you to live. If any of you don't give ye face, ye won't be polite." Shu Long looked towards his more experienced companion, Yi Ling. Before this journey, he had never been to the Mo world. Yi Ling's expression was not good. He pressed his voice low and said, "They are bandits. There probably isn't a ruling faction in this area and making it easy for bandits to control the area." Bandits? Shu Long stilled. There are bandits in the Mo world as well. Yi Ling's old face flushed. A lot. His mood then lifted as he said heatedly, so we need our king. Only our king can once again establish order. Shu Long patted Yi Ling heavily on the shoulder. You are right. Immediately after, Shu Long slowly took out his Mo weapon and said sternly, Darren's light has not reached this place, then we will first proceed for Darren. On this trip, the majority of his group were the elite from guard camp. In the past, while they had been completely loyal to Zhua Mo, they did not have any goals or dreams. But after Yi Ling appeared, this battle maniac had caused guard camp to reassess themselves. A drive, for guard camp, people who were once Xiu slaves and encountered great hardship, this was akin to the light in a dark world. They naturally thought of other Xiu slaves that were still in terrible situations, that guard camp was once enslaved like them. Every hardship guard believed that only Darren could help more Xiu slaves escape their tragic fates. Since they joined Darren, no matter where they had gone, as long as it was Zhua Mo's territory, there were no Xiu slaves. Silently, guard camp started to form their simple dream. The only one that detected this transformation was Lil Miss, but Lil Miss felt that this kind of change was not bad. It was actually good. A battalion with a dream usually possessed astounding combat abilities because they would focus themselves and motivate themselves. The Mo were shocked that Shu Long and the others were planning on fighting back. You really have guts. Know who Yi is? Yi is from the famous Mountain Dragon Corps. Humph, dare to resist. Yi will let you know what a massacre is. The leading Mo smirked coldly. Shu Long didn't even blink as his heavy armor formed on his body. Behind him, the hardship guards manifested their heavy armor. Shu Long held his large halberd in his hand, the beak-like point was red as though it had been soaked in blood. Shu Long was clear that his talent as a general was average and far from being comparable to Lil Miss' talent. So no matter what tactic or battle formation that Pu Yao or Wei had trained them in, he would always methodically complete them. To the strictest and most stringent degree. Even while traveling normally they maintained a battle formation. Even if they were walking from their camp to the training field, they would maintain their battle formation. On this long journey, they still maintained their battle formation. What Pu Yao and Wei demanded of guard camp was that they had to be able to activate the battle formation in the span of 2 breaths. Shu Long felt that he lacked talent and wanted to have even more time to respond to the enemy trained until this was down to half of a breath. This was a standard that was so high that even Pu Yao and Wei were shocked. At this time, this high standard was displayed. Before the other finished speaking, the Crow Fiend Mo kill formation had started to move. The Crow Fiend Mo kill formation variant that required less than 100 hardship guards was what they trained the most in. Threads of black mist left each hardship guard like an arrow and gathered around Shu Long at an astounding rate. Half a breath. Shu Long, who was shrouded in the black smoke, did not hesitate at all. His left foot suddenly stepped forward, as he lunged forward, and the black halberd in his hand suddenly swiped forward. Kill! The black mist covering his body flooded towards the black halberd. A black energy howled as it flew towards the enemy. You dare! The Mo leader was both shocked and furious. He hadn't expected the other to really fight back, and Shu Long's move had been so fast that they responded only after the black energy formed. The black energy was lightning fast. When it flew in front of this group of Mo, the black energy that had been a few chi on the halberd had expanded to 20 zhang in length. The enormous energy was like a sickle. It cut down the chaff. Pew pew pew. Anyone touched by the black energy was sent flying. Blood and flesh sprayed through the air. They didn't even have the time to shout before they disappeared into the furious howl. The howls dissipated and the black energy disappeared. The ground was filled with bloodied bodies and broken limbs. The ground that had encountered the black energy was scorched black and was left completely lifeless. Everyone was shocked by the scene in front of them. There was an enormous section of the MO troop that had disappeared. The MO that had been standing in that space before had all disappeared. The remaining MO all had expressions of hopelessness. When the black energy had came at them, the sky in their eyes had become night. The rising scent of blood was like terror that could not be restrained and completely filled the air. In the history of Mountain Dragon Corps, they had never faced such a fearsome opponent before. Was this the elite of some battalion? Even the most stupid person understood they had hit a hard nut this time. The terrible conditions of their fellows made them realize just how vicious this troop of 100 people was. Boom! All the bandits reacted the same. They turned and scattered. Xu Long, who had been preparing to send a second attack, stopped. The enemy's weak resolve received their disdain. Mountain Dragon Corps, no wonder we never heard of them. Someone muttered. Guard Camp's display didn't just shock the enemy but also people on their own side. The Flower Yao were alright, as they had seen Vermilion Bird Camp before, and that was a place that was just as freakish as Guard Camp. But Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe, and the other Yao, as well as Yi Ling, were stunned. No inquiries, no announcements, they didn't even wait for the other to finish speaking, without any warning, as fast as lightning, and so aggressive. This was a vicious battle machine. Yi Ling was a MO with knowledge, and he had seen the Crow Fiend MO kill formation before. However, it was the first time he had seen such a oppressive and suffocating Crow Fiend MO kill formation. As expected of his King's Corps troops, he was filled with admiration, and when he thought of his own battalion, he was filled with shame. He resolved that he would definitely learn from Xu Long Darren when he returned. Such a vicious and domineering way of fighting was a great weapon. Only by becoming stronger could his minuscule strength contribute to his king's dominion. Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe, and the others were even more shocked, their bodies numb. Pu Yao, who still held a grudge over how Guard Camp had been stolen from him, kept on instilling in Nan Yu and the others the belief that Guard Camp were their competitors. So on the way here, Nan Yu and the others had secretly observed Xu Long's group. Before this incident, they hadn't found anything special about Xu Long and the others, but the moment Xu Long and the other troop acted, they felt as though a harmless-looking wild beast had suddenly revealed its sharp and vicious fangs, shook off all disguise and revealed its true bloodthirsty nature. The shock produced by this entire process caused their limbs to become cold and their faces bloodless. No matter if it was Nan Yu, Tsang Zhe, or Ming Ju Zi, their experiences had been very peaceful. Compared to the hardship guards that had fought and killed their way out, they were like infants. So strong. Tsang Zhe swallowed, his face ashen. Ming Ju Zi had a grimace. Darren really found a good competitor for us. Nan Yu had remnants of terror on her face, but she bit down on her lips and said stubbornly, "We need to work harder." They finally understood why Pu Yao was demanded so much of them. All their objections and opinions dissipated in front of the domineering and powerful strength of Xu Long and the others. They didn't speak, but they each resolved inside to work harder. Xu Long himself was not that kind of smart person. His response naturally was not so sensitive. Seeing the other choosing to flee, he deactivated the battle formation. "Let's go, we need to move faster," Xu Long said in a deep voice. Yi Ling also refocused and nodded. "Yes, it is most important to find our king." The troop once again started to travel. They did not think more about this interaction that couldn't even be called a fight. They only hoped that they could reach Shattered Stone Jia as fast as possible. However, what they hadn't thought about was that this place they were traveling through was truly the land of bandits. The news that they had defeated the Mountain Dragon Corps was like a pebble that was thrown into the water and caused a whole series of ripples. The serene blue light on his right palm was blinding and illuminated the entire room. The blue light was produced by the collisions of the turbulent flows inside his body. This kind of collision was just an instinctive response by the powers in his body and was not a regular and organized collision. This type of collision was unexpected to Zhua Mo, but he was overjoyed about it. There had to be a process similar to awakening for the engraved MO matrix to start working. Only after awakening will the connection between the MO matrix and the flesh truly become close. The irregular flows of power continuously charged at the MO matrix of the 10,000-layer iron cowrie, and so the MO matrix was quickly merging with his body. The entire process continued for 4 whole hours before the blue light gradually dimmed and then disappeared. Zhuo felt that his right palm had become hardened to a degree that would have been unimaginable in the past. He felt that if he now used his palm to hit a flying sword, he wouldn't be hurt at all. This filled Zhuo with confidence. What was left now was to guide the chaotic flows inside his body into this rock-hard palm. This was the most important step. Even as strong and resolved as Zhuo was mentally, he felt a rare thread of nervousness. His gaze unconsciously landed on a Gui's face. From his angle, he coincidentally saw a Gui's chin. Zhuo suddenly found that the skin at a Gui's chin was smooth and completely different than her face. This suddenly discovery took away Zhuo's nervousness. He laughed. After laughing, Zhuo was in a good mood. He threw away all his stray thoughts and emotions, he looked outside and entered a state of concentration. Come. Chapter 550, Success. There were still flows of power colliding and charging inside his body. 3 completely different types of power continuously crashed together, and what shocked him was that under such collisions, the 3 powers had continuously grown stronger. The rate of increase far surpassed Zhuo's knowledge. They seemed to become stronger by the hour. Any kind of cultivation speed compared to this was as slow as a turtle. If he could have this kind of growth rate when cultivating, how fortunate would it be? This thought flashed through Zhuo's mind before he threw it away. The danger associated with this abnormal growth was enough for any Xiuzhi to die multiple times. If Zhuo wasn't cultivating Shen power and the 3 powers were connected, if it wasn't that he had the soul-setting divine light inside his body as the counterbalance, if he didn't have the green vine mystical water healing his body inside, he would have died a few hundred times already. Zhuo gradually grasped some patterns to the movements of the power. This kind of crazy growth was because the powers were mutually stimulating each other. Right now, the 3 powers inside his body were like 3 factions of equal power. Any expansion of one faction would cause the expansion of the other 2. And this kind of growth was at a tricky equilibrium. It was this tricky equilibrium that was why Zhuo's body had not been destroyed. But these rampaging flows of power continuously attacked Zhuo's body. This was also the reason that Zhuo was unable to move. Zhuo's way of thinking was not complex. He was to guide the chaotic flows into his right hand to lessen the burden on his body and allow his body to recover the ability to move. But it was not easy to do all this. Pu Yao had taught the Yao art to Zhuo, but Zhuo's consciousness was also scattered and not in his control. Without his consciousness, he was unable to cast the Yao art. What Zhuo needed to do now was to control a small part of his consciousness. This was the most difficult and most important step. Zhuo's only chance would occur during the short period of time the 10,000-layer iron cowrie formation in his hand's flesh was merging together. The equilibrium in his hand would be broken. The flesh would merge with the MO matrix, and leave behind the Ling power and consciousness. What Zhuo needed to do was to split the 2 remaining powers, taking out the Ling power that was tangled with the consciousness. The consciousness that remained would be enough to cast the Yao art. Zhuo was like a hunter waiting for an opportunity, patiently waiting for the best time. Suddenly, the MO matrix gave off a serene blue light. The connection between his hand and the 10,000-layer iron cowrie had increased, and the physical power among the 3 powers in his hand was decreasing dramatically. The balance was broken. Highly focused, Zhuo acted in this instant. His nimble 5 fingers on his right hand bloomed, flickering and pointing at a rapid rate. Finger movements. The finger movements that he had practiced so much on back at Wukong Mountain once again appeared. Finger movements. Pu Yao was slightly surprised. Wei, who was nearby, was also left surprised. None of them had thought that Sui Mo would use finger movements. But these two were extremely smart and quickly understood. They said at the same time, "This is a good solution." Any beginner Xiuzhe had a common knowledge that the finger movements were the surface guides and Ling power was the core for control. In other words, the finger movements were just an assistive method and Ling power control was actually what was effective. But this also meant that there was a special connection between finger movements and Ling power. Since his Ling power had gone out of his control, he would use finger movements to guide the Ling power. This was something easy to say, but the number of people who could think of this was pitifully little. Everyone would think that the core controlled the surface, but in the eyes of many people, using the surface to control the core was mostly ineffectual. Even Pu Yao and Wei hadn't thought of this, so when the two of them saw Sui Mo using this method, they instantly complimented him. Kajwa gaped with wide eyes. He had never seen such nimble fingers before, and never such fantastical finger movements. The dancing 5 fingers smoothly went through the finger movements. Sui Mo quickly felt the change in his palm. The Ling power that was tangled with his consciousness was affected by the finger movements and gradually broke free as though it was attracted to something else. It flowed out through Sui Mo's 5 fingers. Sui Mo's fingers gradually lit up. At the beginning, it was a light indiscernible from the light of his palm, but as his 5 fingers moved, it became brighter. His 5 fingers were like 5 bright dots of light that drew out streams of bright light as he moved. Little art of cloud and rain. The spell that Sui Mo was most familiar with. A faint ball of mist slowly spread through the intersection of the bright lights. The mist gradually spread and the flickering fingers danced in and out of view with its streaks of light beautifully through the mist. Sui Mo did not have the attention to spare and admire this beautiful scene. His attention was focused because he had to perfectly finish the guiding Yao art. He had to split his mind on 2 tasks. The benefits of Shen power appeared now. If this was in the past, he definitely did not have the ability to cast a Yao art when he was also maintaining a spell. This Yao art that was called Other Life Art, not difficult but was very obscure. Pu Yao had said proudly that even in his era, there were pitifully few that knew of this Yao art. Sui Mo found it hard to understand Pu Yao's smugness. He really could not think of anyone who would use this Yao art in a situation unlike this one. But in order to protect the stability of his sea of consciousness, he did not voice his thoughts. At this time, Sui Mo had thrown these random thoughts to the back of his mind. His consciousness, which was disentangled from the Ling power, had begun merging together again. Sui Mo effortlessly cast Other Life Art. The moment the Yao art was completed, Sui Mo's body suddenly shook. The rampaging chaotic flows inside his body completely stopped. What was going on? Sui Mo had a bad feeling. Why did it stop? This was completely different than what they had expected. Before he could think more, the flows that had stopped then exploded without warning. Boom! The chaotic flows present in every part of his body were like sharks that smelt blood and flooded toward Sui Mo's right hand. Sui Mo's body violently shook and he grunted. The usual collisions of the chaotic flows were extremely painful. But these new crazy collisions were like countless blades sawing back and forth on Sui Mo's body. The 10,000-layer iron Kaori Mo matrix on his right hand was affected and suddenly released a blinding blue light. The blue light given off this time was brighter than any other time. The entire room became dyed in blue light and Sui Mo's right hand was like a blinding ball of light. The blue light was increasing in strength. It was so bright that Kajwa had to close his eyes. He was shocked inside. As expected of teacher, this was wondrous. Even though he didn't really understand what Sui Mo was doing, it did not stop him from marveling at it. His right hand was like a bottomless hole. As the power flooded in, other than the Mo matrix brightening, there wasn't any other response. As the chaotic flows entered his right hand, the feeling of pain decreased drastically and his paralyzed body quickly recovered its mobility. Zhuo Mo was overjoyed. Success! He truly succeeded. When the last chaotic flow burrowed into Zhuo Mo's right hand, Zhuo Mo's battered body quickly recovered under the nurturing of the greenvine mystical water. Such a marvelous greenvine mystical water! Zhuo Mo suppressed his joy and tried to move. His left arm was able to move. But due to his position, his left hand was placed on a Gui's chest. With this movement, it caused a serious consequence so soft. Zhuo Mo's face was red. That, he couldn't always eat soft rice. After warning himself, Zhuo Mo carefully got of a Gui. It had been too long since he moved and his movements were clumsy and stiff. Fortunately, a Gui seemed to understand that he had recovered and did not try to stop him. The moment his feet landed on the ground, Zhuo Mo almost cried. Success! His body was completely empty of power, and even his Mo physique was unable to be used. But just having recovered his ability to move was enough for him to be ecstatic. Zhuo Mo quickly found an unpredicted situation. The blue light on his hand did not show any signs of dimming. He quickly understood after thinking. After taking in so much power, these powers would continuously charge at the 10,000-layer iron Kaori Mo matrix. The Mo matrix that was being stimulated would naturally light up. While he understood, Zhuo Mo was troubled. Was he going to have to go outside with this ball of light? After more thought, Zhuo Mo found a length of cloth and carefully wrapped up his right hand. After wrapping more than 10 layers, the blue light was finally covered. Without the blinding blue light, Kajwa's vision cleared up. When he saw Zhuo Mo standing, he was shocked and stammered, "Teacher, you have recovered completely?" Zhuo Mo smiled slightly. Recovered in part. Then his gaze landed on a Gui and instantly became much gentler. A Gui, sorry for burdening you. A Gui did not react as though she did not hear the words. Zhuo Mo did not care. He said lightly, I will definitely take you and leave. I will heal you, recover you memories, I want to know your name. A Gui stood woodenly. I can definitely do it. Lowering his head, Zhuo Mo looked at his palm, so resolved as though he was announcing his oath to himself. He started to exercise his body. A short while later, he found his coordination again. After achieving this step, he sat down again and started to study his right hand that he had wrapped in many layers. All of the chaotic power flows had been sucked into his right hand. These chaotic flows had formed a whirlpool. No matter what kind of power it was, it would always search for balance. Zhuo Mo seemed to understand something. All of the chaotic flows were compressed in his little hand. The entanglement between the three powers had increased. Having lost the comparatively vast space to rampage, they were more tightly packed and the collisions between them were even more violent. Zhuo Mo could feel the powerful strength contained in the collision. However, he had expected this. But his next discovery caused his expression to change drastically. Chapter 551, Good that came with the bad. The power inside his hand was furiously growing at a rate multiple times compared to before. The power whirlpool seemed to be expanding at a visible rate. The increasing power caused the presence of the whirlpool to become even more terrifying. The ferocity of the power collisions was rapidly increasing. The waves of power pushed outward and caused this compressed whirlpool of power to become even more chaotic. No wonder Zhuo Mo's expression changed. If the rate continued to increase like this, even the 10,000-layer iron Kaori would not be able to tolerate the power whirlpool inside his hand for very long. Zhuo Mo had never expected that guiding the power flows into his hand would cause their rate of growth to increase so greatly. This also meant that the time Zhuo Mo had left had shrunk dramatically. Zhuo Mo's expression became stern. He reflexively moved his body. He was slightly unaccustomed to this empty body. Suddenly, he had an idea. If he could pull out and process power from his hand and move it into his body. He did it as he thought about it. He tried to pull out a small amount of power from the power whirlpool in his palm. However, what depressed him was that no matter if he used spells, Yao arts, or Mo skills, he was unable to obtain one thread of power from the power whirlpool. The power whirlpool spun at a high speed and all the chaotic power flows were tightly sucked into the power whirlpool. Mo was not demotivated. He patiently pondered it. As he thought, he suddenly found that each of the chaotic flows in the power whirlpool were usually three powers tangled together, and it was very difficult to extract just one power. Three powers tangled together, wasn't that just Shen power? Mo's eyes suddenly lit up. The power whirlpool seemed to suddenly slow down. Those chaotic power flows magnified in front of his eyes and gradually became clear. When the three powers merged, it was Shen power. Mo murmured to himself as he stared unblinkingly. Suddenly, he moved into a strange posture, the beginning position for Shen power cultivation that was recorded on the golden leaf. Almost the instant he got into position, a thread of gold light floated out of the power whirlpool. Mo's mind was completely clear. Without any pause, he moved through the following positions. Gold threads continued to flow out of the power whirlpool. These threads did not seem to be affected by the suction of the whirlpool at all. These golden threads were as thin as hair as they slowly floated in the air above the whirlpool. This was Shen power. At this time, the ray of soul-setting divine light inside Mo's body suddenly lit up. The Shen power threads that were flowing suddenly stopped. With a flash of the divine light, the Shen power seemed to be pulled by an unseen force, suddenly breaking out of the attraction to the whirlpool and flowing from the middle of his palm into his arm. These hair-thin Shen power strands quickly merged into Mo's body when they left his palm. A feeling of swelling power rose. It was as though his parched body had suddenly become replenished by the rain. Every bit of his blood and flesh was greedily absorbing these strands of Shen power. The moves that had been raw before seemed to have merged into Mo's bones. His movements flowed and felt simple yet enlightened. Threads of Shen power continuously flew out of Mo's palm into every part of Mo's body. The soul-setting divine light dimmed and brightened as though it was the lighthouse guiding the ships in the dark. If Mo looked carefully at the soul-setting divine light at this time, he would find to his shock that the soul-setting divine light was much brighter than in the past. Is he actually a genius? Wei suddenly said. His expression was extremely complex. There was shock, disbelief, dazedness, suspicious, but when he said this, his tone was certain. Otherwise, why would I take him as a student? Pu Yao could not disguise the smugness in his expression, but his bloody pupil still exposed his own shock. I'm very curious about his origins now, Wei said lightly. He is able to cultivate the Mo physique, able to cultivate Yao arts, able to cultivate spells, able to cultivate Shen power, able to comprehend the soul-setting divine light, it really is. Wei almost didn't know how to describe it. The smugness on Pu Yao's face retreated and his usual indifference came back. No matter what his birth is my student is my student. Do not be so nervous. Wei smiled slightly. I will not have malicious aims on him. This kind of genius will never lack for enemies. I don't need to increase their numbers, I just anticipate it. A light flashed through Pu Yao's bloody pupil. What do you want to do? Do you remember why we were defeated in the past? Wei smiled slightly but that smile was without any warmth. What? Mountain Dragon Core, is this embarrassing? An one-eyed Mo wolf shouted. His gaze was vicious, his face set in a snarl, scars crisscrossed his face and caused him to appear intimidating. In this eminent mountain Jia, this one-eyed Mo wolf's reputation was feared. He wasn't just the leader of the biggest group of bandits, he was also the boss that was most famous in eminent mountain Jia. Eminent mountain Jia was ruled by bandits. This was a famed home of bandits, and the number of bandit groups were in the thousands. The merchants that passed by didn't dare to travel through this region, and due to the fact there were no large factions in the surroundings, no one came to rid the area of bandits. Over time, Eminent Mountain Jia became a true den of bandits. They raided in all areas, and all of the business routes in the surroundings were within their raiding area. The more daring bandit groups would even travel to raid places further away. In Eminent Mountain Jia, there was only one kind of Mo that could survive: bandits. Hearing that someone had come to Eminent Mountain Jia to show off, the one-eyed Mo wolf couldn't accept it. "Boss, that group is really strong. They probably aren't from an average battalion." "There aren't many of them, about 100 and so," the subordinate said cautiously. He had not seen the battle personally, and all the intelligence he had been learned from the lucky survivors of Mountain Dragon Corps. Mountain Dragon Corps? "Those trash," the one-eyed Mo wolf said disdainfully. "They are all cowardly. This kind of trash is an embarrassment to our Eminent Mountain Jia." The one-eyed Mo clearly was talking as though he was the master of the Jia. Viciousness flashed through his eyes as he snarled, "Even those proper battalions do not dare to come to our territory to make trouble. Just 100 people, such daring. They really think they are something." The subordinate perceptively did not try to urge otherwise. He was clear about his boss' fiery temper. The boss hated matters that lost his face the most. If he was not perceptive, he wouldn't be able to keep his head. "Go. Tell the other corps, they'll give a space to whoever exterminates this group on the next trip out." The one-eyed Mo wolf narrowed his one eye and said in a deep voice. The subordinate was filled with sympathy towards this group of people that had charged into Eminent Mountain Jia. They were finished. With boss throwing this prize out, there wouldn't be a speck of these 100 people left. The one-eyed Mo wolf was the strongest in Eminent Mountain Jia. Only he dared to attack the highly defended cities. Every time he went out on a city raid, he would come back with great prizes that the other factions were deeply envious of. The rule of the one-eyed Mo wolf was that whichever bandit group performed a great service would be allowed to participate in the raids. This was a great business. These people were really pitiful. Mo woke up from his tranquil state. When he opened his eyes, a light flashed across them. The feeling of being filled with explosive power was so familiar that he almost assumed he had recovered to his peak. He lightly shook his head. Pia pia pia, a string of pops occurred from his neck down to his tailbone. An unprecedented feeling of comfort filled his body. Mo's eyes brightened and his joy was hard to disguise. The Shen power inside his body had not reached his peak, but his present Shen power was more pure and condensed than it was in the past. He tried to turn Shen power into the 3 powers, and there were no hindrances. What made him happier was that at almost the same moment he thought about it, the Shen power had turned into the 3 powers. The entire process almost didn't have any pause, and was much greater than the process in the past. The good that came with the bad. He really got something good this time with the bad. The 3 powers that came from the purer Shen power was much purer than before. Mo had a feeling that he was just a thread away from a breakthrough. This breakthrough wasn't a breakthrough in a single field, but in all areas. Ling power, Mo physique, spiritual consciousness, they had all reached the border of a breakthrough. What made him even happier was that he had a strong confidence he would have a successful breakthrough. He raised his right hand. The whirlpool of power had shrunk by only a third, and the rate of spinning was slower than before. But it was still growing, and not long in the future, it would recover to its previous form. Mo suddenly became excited. The whirlpool in his right hand was like a Shen power spring that could continuously provide Shen power for him. If he persisted in taking Shen power from it, his Shen power would keep growing. His rate of improvement would become astounding. Mo was filled with confidence. Looking at the wooden Agui, he couldn't help but go forward and ruffle Agui's hair. He muttered excitedly, Agui, Agui, I succeeded. I really succeeded. Agui's warm and raven-black long hair was turned into a pitiful bird's nest. Huever, she did not react and only looked at Suemo. That pair of dim and gray-white eyes seemed to be shrouded in mist. Zhuo was gaping. In that instant, the strong pressure that Suemo exuded almost pushed him to the ground. This world had changed too quickly. There wasn't anything that could give a person more confidence than power. Having recovered the majority of his strength, Suemo was even more composed and calm. He did not continue to extract Shen power. He hadn't completely absorbed the Shen power he had just taken. It would probably take 2 to 3 days before the process would be complete. He decided to look at that young female Mo. As to Tseng Yi, a hint of battle spirit flashed across Suemo's calm face. He was going to give the other a great surprise. So what if he was at the general level? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.